Good afternoon, Dossers, and welcome to the GRAPPL Weekend Show for Friday, the 27th of March. I'm Benno.
And I'm JP.
And he's JP. And welcome back, JP, to the Weekend Show. We are here. For those who I'm going to be putting a version of this on the public feed, so hopefully people on the public feed have heard. Obviously, you're making your big return on Sunday on the pre-show, but if not, JP's back, everyone. Breaking news. And not in a Samoan adjacent hoodie this time out.
No, it isn't. I'm not the Black Scorpion or the Halloween
Too hot
Phantom.
for that?
It's not that time. It's far too hot. In this room, because I've basically moved. So I've moved upstairs into our room. So it's like this little desk in the corner underneath a Velux window that I daren't open because there's an A road nearby as well. You've probably forgotten what an A road is for the amount of time you've been in Southeast Asia. But I'm absolutely pumped to be back. I'm slightly terrified. I won't lie, because this is just like, it's like shit. You were saying it's like riding a bike, and I'm sort of thinking, is it like riding a bike pissed? No, what it is. It's like when you used to ride those scooters and you had a couple of mischiefs on them. When you
scrape knees might come, scrape shins, something like that might come about. We were saying backstage, obviously, with JP setting up again and possibly issues my end. Let us know if we sound good, we look good, and everything is working, because we'll need the help. But I was going to say, you say it's like riding a bike. Obviously, we had you on the pre-show on Sunday. It was like within about 30 seconds of us having you back on, we were talking about Arsenal, talked a little bit about Ireland, and then we were back to talking about Arsenal again, talked about your food, we had to go with Trump, and then it was over, and it was just like, it was like you never left, mate. It's, I don't know, is there anything we missed from your big comeback? Anything you wanted to mention? Obviously, being back on, this will be your official reintroduction to the main feed, to Gen Pop, so I don't know if there was anything you wanted to cover out.
You make it sound like we're in Emerald City in Oz in that, and I mean the prison for all of those. It's can't think of anything else other than if you'd asked me, what TV shows you're watching, I would have been possibly doing that for several days. Like that just would have been an endless segment. But what's nice to know is in that time, everything Iran's going great. Arsenal have done brilliantly, and obviously Ireland have done great in that time as well. So
I was feeling for you last night, mate. Honestly,
and the weather's gorgeous today. Oh no, it isn't. It's pissing it down at the start of the Easter holiday. So yeah, it's going fucking great guns this week as well. So I'm hoping that tonight I'm going to end up watching, I think, we'll talk about it at the end, but one battle after another again. I think I need some cheering up. So it's maybe it's went to Sky or HBO Max, depending on it's on there as well. So yeah, I was very happy he won all the Oscars. Good old Paul Thomas Anderson.
I'm told by Andy here saying, you appeared on a Sunday and all football is a curse. Not necessarily the movies, so I'll save it for the pre-show, which will be tomorrow, but I did see it, a nice little film, Project Hail Mary this week, might be in my competition for film of the year as well, but there we go. Yeah, like Simon says there, it's like you were never away, and it's fantastic, mate. No, it is great to have you back, and like I say, it's been great to see the people coming out and obviously being made up that you are back as well on the Discord and at all hands as well. And you haven't missed much, mate. Just a couple of months of TNA, which I'm told you've caught up on. Bit of WWE, bit of AEW. Couple of shows in, you'll be right back on it, mate. There's nothing too major you missed.
It's been a wrestling boom, hasn't it? Because I'm assuming now, I mean, if I'm thinking about it right, that WWE, in that road to WrestleMania style, they've got their shit together the way they normally do. That'd be about right, would it? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. WrestleMania, it's big time. Should have matches for all the big stars. I'm sure they do.
Yep, and I'm sure all of these matches have been planned out well in advance, and they're the biggest matches they could possibly put on. And I think NXT as well, carrying on like the big ratings that it's been doing, and everything's great on that front. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, exactly. AEW though, is it all just still work rate and it's gone a bit shit? I'd imagine that's probably still the case there as well. And TNA just completely have reinvigorated themselves going on the AMC and in no way putting on exactly the same product that they have been doing for the last few years. I assume that's the case. And Aaron Wolf is IWGP champion after they strapped a rocket to the big baby and said to you crack on, mate. You dominate the place. There's no way you should be involved in, say, a needless feud with a stable that should have died on the 4th of fucking January. But instead, so it's nice to see the wrestling world is great. And MLW have made some cracking signings that are going to reinvigorate how and they're doing it as well. Is that about right? Have I kind of summed it up?
I'd say you got about 1 out of 5 there. Maybe it might be the MLW signings with the gigantic signing of Gallus this week, mate. But outside that, Brit Res is still dead. Everything else pretty much is exactly the same as you left it. You were asking there in the chat. Any thoughts on RevPro? We're actually going to be getting into a bit of that today as well. So we will we'll circle around. We'll catch you up on everything, JP. But again, like I say, this version of this show is going to be going on the public feed. So if you're on the public feed, like I say, I hope you enjoyed Stone Cold Crazy this week, which did make its first appearance on there too. But like I say, if you want to enjoy weekend shows like this, most weeks, usually with Thursday, sometimes with Friday, or maybe we usually with Friday, sometimes with Thursday. But yeah, on top of that, obviously, plenty of other shows going on over at the Patreon. We have, as I mentioned, Stone Cold Crazy will be continuing as a Patreon show going forward, but we'll also be recording the 5-to-1 tier list tomorrow. Fair warning there for the patrons. 12 p.m. Saturday start, which feels wrong. For me, it's not too bad. It's 7 p.m. because the clocks don't change until Sunday night for me, so I'm not too bad out here. But yeah, it's going to be a 5-to-1 tier list on WrestleManias, and I don't know if this is breaking news or not, JP, but for the people, obviously, the WrestleMania side of it, it's just going to be me and Garrett, like, just staring at logos, kind of going, okay, WrestleMania Play Sign, which one's that? WrestleMania Pirate Ship 1 and WrestleMania Pirate Ship 2. WrestleMania stickers, which one is that? Somehow me and Gareth will work that out, but we have decided as well for the off topic, we're going to be doing in the WrestleMania spirit of things, and obviously it being a WrestleMania season about to hit, we're going to do 5-to-1 takeaways. It might be themed, it might be takeaways maybe you get for WrestleMania or takeaways you get for wrestling, and it's going to be a bit of room for moving there. Obviously we're going to have 41 WrestleManias to rank, so it won't be a too lengthy a one, but Chinese versus Indian versus Kebab House versus Chippy. Obviously, that might be a confrontational one when it comes to me and Matty. But throw in some big hits as well as far as the big brands go as well. And we'll find out what hits as a 5-to-1. Like I say, takeaways / basically things you can order to get in for a big night in, watching the footy, watching the wrestling, or whatever you're doing. So yeah, ideas on the postcards, send them over.
You've basically summarised, though, what the discussion I'll be having in a couple of hours' time about what I'm going to have for tea. Basically, is going to be which takeaway, which is basically.
Gareth was saying this. The biggest thing is like if we're going to tier list them, are they all just going to go in tier 1? Like, is it just going to be everything's going to be Steve tier? Pretty much. There'll be some exceptions. I'll throw some shit ones in there as well. I'm sure we can find some stuff.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, I can't. If anyone tries to, I mean, I'll be interested to say. Because Chinese, it depends on the Chinese, obviously. If that isn't Steve tier, then I don't know what we're doing. I think things have gone like horribly wrong. Surely to God, that would be the one that like you'd be fighting to the bitter end over. Like, I mean, like surely that would be the case. Although it's the chip shops in Liverpool that kind of throw it in. There's that merger between the two. But that sounds like an absolutely cracking show for that. The WrestleManias one, I don't know. Hell. You tell me the difference between WrestleMania 34 and 35.
I haven't got Triple H and Brock Lesnar, for what I know today from gathering the posters, are just in slightly different parts of the poster, and Roman Reigns is like somewhere over here instead of over there. Honestly, like the WrestleMania 1 to 10, I'm sure you're the same. Just eidetic memory of everything that happened on those, what the VHS cover looked like, what happened on the shows. 10 to 20, I surprised myself. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm pretty good on those. Even 20 to 30, there's a couple in the middle where, maybe I lost my smile and didn't like wrestling too much in there. Somewhere in the middle there, but, before it, after it, there's even a WrestleMania as that I recognize. You get to the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania, WrestleMania 30, and then, fuck me, yeah, it is literally just a cavalcade of Bray Wyatt, Stickers logos, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Apparently they wrestled each other 18,000 times. Seth Rollins is on them all. I haven't got a fucking clue, but that's why we have Matty. Matty will be our guide. He'll be our key. I'll have Wikipedia open on the right as well, but I probably won't need it with our Matty. It'll be like, one of those. Just give him like the little square in the corner. He'll be able to tell you right away which poster it is. He's got one of those. What was that? It was that game show in the 90s where they used to do that. I'm sure it was a thing that used to be on like British telly on like Saturdays.
What was
the name of it? But Matty would be great at it. It was. I always remember it was like a game show.
Was it not catchphrase?
No, there was like one that was on like a Saturday evening. We've talked about it before. And like there was one episode where like a wrestling fan went on and they showed them like a snapshot of like 2 seconds of a WWF tape and he could tell you what it was. What was it?
I know.
Something
You bet.
Everything to win. You bet. That was it. You bet.
Matthew Kelly.
WrestleMania theme. You bet. Matty would nail it.
Oh, he absolutely should do as well. I mean, if it ever came up in like Pointless, or something, and he's like, name a WrestleMania main event that people like. He would absolutely like nail that, like all of the way. He'd be able to kind of like do that without anyone guessing. Like he'd do brilliant on that as well. But surprised You Bet hasn't made a comeback. I did see the Italian version. I know I've said this to you before. 4 hours long, scomiciamo c'è as well, and involved lots of ladies in bikinis. Stood behind while people did You Bet style challenges. It was a strange thing, but we were just killing time till a Serie A game came on. God bless the early 2000s. But Stephen Mulhern had it. There's a fucking surprise. Not like him to have an ITV game show, is it? Christ.
Pretty much standard. Yeah, it's a bit like some of the telly when I see on here when I throw the Vietnamese telly on and who knows what's going on. Even last night, you mentioned it there. I was watching obviously I was up late for the Ireland game, 3 a.m. I just assumed JP on the proper Vietnamese TV wants to be ahead of the group chat. Just assumed it'd be fine. It'd be English commentary, some fucking Vietnamese bloke sat on his own in like a studio somewhere doing all the live commentary at from 4 till 6 a.m, including all 10 games as well. So they had different people in different booths doing it. Like I know we've had some wrestling commentators that have done that kind of way, but Jesus Christ, I was very impressed. To be fair, it was a good job and a good old shift.
I was going to say, what was it? What was the game? Was it Albania versus? I'm trying to think. Albania.
Oh, yeah, that had the commentator too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just somebody's job was to stay up till 6 a.m, but just laying Vietnamese commentary over it. Incredible.
Why would you bother? Like, you'd want to get the RTE commentary as well on there. I think you had the RTE stream at one point on the go for that game. That's all I watched at home for that one on there. But God bless those
Ireland's own DT Hammond.
They love football in Vietnam, don't they? I really fucking love football.
Not their own football, just our football.
Yeah, I was going to say, not enough to support their own national team or the league. I don't know. Is there any Vietnam games going on over this international break? You might think, go watch that. Yeah,
seems to be to empty stadiums. It's a bit like going to see lower league stuff. It looked like from the standard. Although I will say, I went for my haircut today, and the barber did there when he asked me where I was from, and I said Liverpool, and I had that awkward conversation of I'm from Liverpool, but I don't support Liverpool. He did know Tim Cahill, so maybe our brand awareness is spreading across the world. But yeah,
that's impressive. Imagine if you just looked at you and went Kevin Ratcliffe, just so
Dave Watson, Rhino, David Unsworth, yeah.
David Unsworth as well. Oh, that would be fucking brilliant. It would have been very impressed if they had done that as well. But yeah, get yourself along to some few games. I'm sure there's a vlog you could make out of it. It'd be cracking stuff. Vietnamese Joey Styles.
Guess of the wrestling. See, that could be my future. Maybe I could get that job, JP, and it could be me commentating over the very sad end to Ireland's World Cup hopes last night, JP. Maybe it could have been me.
Well, this is the thing. If Robbie Earl and Robbie Mustoe can become the faces of like football coverage in the US,
2 Robbies,
exactly, mate. But absolutely raking in those lads. I don't know if you remember, me and Joe worked with Robbie Mustoe's nephew, which is but he was a lovely bloke as well. And it was a strange thing. Why is your uncle all over American TV? And he just went, I don't quite understand it. He was quite a young lad as well, but it's like, okay, all right, fair enough. There's a chance for you to do it. What you just need to do is just find a fella called Ben who's willing to do it with you, and then just do the 2 Bennos, and then just do it that way, and then but before you know it, you're absolutely hoiking it in.
Well, from what I know, what's his name? The other one, not Chris Charlton, the other one who does the New Japan commentary,
Walker Stewart.
Apparently, he was doing Vietnam Pro Wrestling's commentary this week. Maybe I could head out there. Maybe me and him could be the dream team rather than him and Chris Charlton. Maybe I could.
Yes,
I could work my way into that as a job at some point. But who knows? That's what's going on. I don't know how we got onto this. We were doing plugs. Anyway, that's everything going on. JP's back, everyone. Welcome to. Did I miss anything, JP? Before we move on? Is there anything else to throw out?
I don't think you did at the minute. You mentioned the 5-1 tier list as well. You mentioned Stone Cold Crazy, which I haven't listened to yet, and I'm really looking forward to listening to that. And then I think you've gone through absolutely everything.
That's the great job
being up on the free feed. Yeah, are they still doing a brilliant job on it? I mean, have they got any Stone Cold merch that they're able to have a drink out of during the time? That'll be the big thing on there. Some 360.
I'm certain Matty does somewhere.
Oh, he must do. He must do. If he doesn't, then fuck it. No one has. It just doesn't exist as a form. But I'm really looking forward to having a listen to that as well because, so brilliant stuff. And then the tier list. Cracking.
There you go.
Like I never was away.
Well, that's all coming up this weekend, and obviously, yeah, we'll be getting you get back going, JP, making this all work for you schedule wise as well. So bear with us as we I guess integrate JP back into the squad. I don't know what it is. How we're doing it, JP. A couple of sub appearance on Sunday, mate. This is your first start in the weekend. It's the weekend show cup game. Is it? I feel like it's a Premier League game these days. It's the real.
It's a Premier League game to me, but it's not like those. It's not like those normal Friday night Premier League games, which just feel wrong. And they always feel wrong, and I don't like them. I'm not. Although sometimes they can be great. Other times you just like, that's 2 hours of my life gone that I could have been watching something else. So, yeah, it's just buzzing to be back. I'm saying, I love the old weekend show and all the nonsense that it brings.
Well, we'll get some European games in there, maybe a cup final at some point as JP rejoins the team. But great to have you back, mate. I'm sure the couple of people will be made it to hear you in the ears as well. And of course, if we have you back, JP, and this is a weekend show, so we do need to, before we get into it, the Dynamite and all the previews, go through all the news. And what better place to start than our favourite little subject, JP? Welcome back. Let's talk Wembley ticket sales. As we did have an update in the last week or so as we catch up on the news on AEW Wembley sales, sitting at nearly 20,000 tickets. Obviously, that's probably moved on a little bit in the days that follow. They've been doing a little bit of advertising, JP. If you're out and about in London at any point, you might get to see this lovely poster that apparently Nathan Cruz posted on his Instagram above a boots. I don't know if you recognise the boots. It's above the venue, whatever that is. There's a poster. Obviously, you know it's at a big Wembley wrestling show coming up because there's some wrestlers on the poster and they're doing a wrestling thing. And wait, no, that's the Bully A photo above them for an album. The actual all-in poster is the one with all the weird modern art and the Sex Pistols knockoff album cover. But you know, if you see it around, you might be interested in googling and finding out what's going on with AEW. But yeah, with marketing like that, JP, does it shock you? And obviously, we have at the minute 17,513 tickets available for the overall setup of 37,000 and just under 20,000 at last count. I imagine it's creeped over at this point, but you know, just in comparison's point, last first count, as I think I talked about with Matty a couple of weeks ago, it was 33,000 when we did the first count for the last All In London 2 years ago, and obviously, that is a bit of a mountain to climb there as far as hitting that same total number as All In from a couple of years ago, the 53,922 number. But I don't know, good start, okay start, Midland start, and yeah, I'm not sure if will that advertising help at all in your opinion.
Well, if I'm right in thinking, I think that is Piccadilly Circus. That it's the big, you know, when you go out of Piccadilly Circus Station where Eros is and you're right in the centre, I have a funny feeling it's there. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
But it feels like it's those big billboards, electronic ones from around there that you quite often see in films and stuff like that. So, like, shows that they're going to make some effort for kind of plugging it on there. In terms of the ticket sales themselves, obviously by comparison, I think I'd heard John and Brandon Thurston talk about this and say it was like 41% down. And they were having like quite an interesting debate about, is there any matches themselves are going to be, or is there anything they can do that's able to sell it? Because obviously the first All In at Wembley was just very much, it was the novelty of AEW haven't been to the UK and they're running fucking Wembley Stadium. This is insane. We have to be there to see what it's like. And there was just such a buzz towards it. The second one, there was that feeling of like, okay, this is down a bit, even though they made a better effort with the build to the card and everything else. And it was a better overall card, I think. And for me, actually, it was a better experience at kind of going to the show as well. This time round, and I think it's obviously not as good, would be a lie to say that. But to sell 19,000 tickets for a show, which is more than they drew to the O2, which did take its time to sort of drag its heels in order to sell for Forbidden Door, is still a decent enough number. The aim is how close are they going to be to that overall count of, like you say, it was 53,922 according to WrestleTix, but it was 46,000 in terms of the turnstile count. That's the aim for that. But if I remember rightly, when we were talking about ticket sales for the All In 2024, it was like the tickets themselves, they like sold big and then there was a drop off and then it kind of creeped its way back up nearer the time. Now, obviously, we've got 5 months or so until we've got the show coming out. This is where, and honestly, this is like where I haven't gone away, and people know exactly what I'm going to say here. Mainstream fucking advertising in it. Like, if, and we'll talk about, we get to Dynamite, if you're thinking about what your predicted main event is, you need to have one of the people in there all over your talk sports, all over your TV, like all over your ITV and stuff like that, just to be able to kind of like really plug the show. The fact that they've spent money on what is probably the most prime bit of billboard real estate in the country, when you think about it, for like Piccadilly Circus, would suggest that they're actually going to spend a few quid for it. So this is one of these ones where it is very much like wait and see. If they can get it to like 40,000 by, I don't know, let's say July, like you'd be in with thinking, oh, okay, by the end of August, you'd hope that would have hit 50. That would have been pretty good. If it gets below, if it's below 40 when people are going in, and just looking at the way they've configured it for 37,000, then it'll be like, okay, maybe we have to think about a different venue, or maybe we have to think about just like kind of knocking the Wembley bit on the head.
Yeah, and obviously it's early to make like bold predictions, but if I was going to make a bold prediction, just something about this, like it being a little bit lower this time out, and it might just be, as you say, it might be a different pattern. It might be people learning from past experiences and waiting and buying closer, knowing it's not going to sell out, knowing they can get a decent ticket, maybe even for cheap or for free, as it comes closer to the show, as some of us have learned over. I don't doubt that there'll be some of that pattern in there, but it has maybe tempered my expectations a little bit. Like, I don't see them hitting last year's number. I don't see them doubling what they've, sold, at least as far as like this count last week goes. I think that it will tick up nicely. It'll be in the nice 30,000 to 40,000 range, which is, no joke at all. Fantastic if they do manage to pull that off. But I think that's probably my expectation. And you're right, obviously, they're never going to learn as far as advertising and promotion and all of that stuff. Like Ewan said there in the chat, like that's my biggest thing. Like, I know I'm British wrestling pill. Like I used to traipse around Wigan, JP, and all the different boroughs around Wigan, putting up GPW posters and putting leaflets through doors and all of that stuff. And you know what all of those leaflets and all those posters said on them? Wrestling in big letters. And I used to think that was cringe. I used to hate that. I used to think, like, I remember when ROH first came to Liverpool, obviously, and I helped out with some of the posting for that. It annoyed me that it didn't just say Ring of Honor at the top, and it had to have like that American wrestling kind of banner at the top. But I didn't understand at the time. But obviously, like most people on the street don't know what Ring of Honor is, or might have a passing idea of what an AEW is. But what they do know what it is, wrestling at Wembley. At a bare minimum, just put the word wrestling there somewhere. Put some wrestlers on your poster. There's ways of advertising things and being too cool for school, and different products can get away with advertising like that. But when it comes to wrestling, it's lowest common denominator stuff, isn't it? You need to smack people over the head with the idea that there's a big wrestling show going on at Wembley, and that might make the difference of maybe not another 40,000 tickets, but maybe a couple of thousand extras or a few hundred families or something like that. I think this stuff all matters, and they don't tend to get this stuff right.
That's it, isn't it? I mean, and that's the weirdest thing when you're looking at this poster on here. It's like, obviously they've done the whole kind of like Sex Pistols vibe for it, but it is,
which is cool. But
you still need to have wrestlers on there, and they've got enough kind of recognizable wrestlers to put onto there as well that I think would have at least some kind of appeal. But also, this has to be a nationwide campaign. This has to be something where you're going throughout all of the country for it. I mean, it's more, that's always where I'm going to come back to. It's like, who is in charge of the marketing for this? Who's in charge of the advertising for this? And it's making sure that this is a long, built, sustainable campaign. I mean, John mentioned there about the ticket prices. I have to say, I've had this conversation with Joe, and he's like, "Do you want to buy tickets?" And I went, "Mate, they're not selling out, so let's wait." No. And we both got access to blue light. Dare I say it, that might be the ploy that a lot of people are going to do, because at the minute it seemed like it is very, very pricey, and unless you want those like real front row seats, those prime positions there, you're thinking to yourself, I can wait for it. And I'm less bothered about it. I know we're not the wrestling in stadiums kind of like audience between me and you, are we? We're like, we much prefer being inside of like an intimate venue and things like that. So like that's what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to be waiting at the time. But there has to be, if nothing else, it's just, you want to see the kind of, what lessons have they learned from the previous two? the first one, they did no build, they did no advertising, and they took it entirely for granted, and they humoured like a lot of people who were never going to go to the show. And I always found that so like infuriating. The second one, there was more of an effort, but it was still very much like, we're just going to put posters up on the tube and stuff like that. I'm thinking it's like, this needs to be a proper targeted marketing campaign. You need to think about what influencer brands and stuff like that, which I know I hate myself for even saying sentences and phrases.
They need to get iShow Speed. So what do they do? Get Kai Cenat.
Oh, do you know what? It might have to be. Yeah.
Who's the British equivalents? The fucking, what are they called? The Sidemen or whatever. Get them involved.
Do you know what? As stupid as that is, it is those.
Do a charity football game. Yeah. Streamers versus wrestlers, something like that.
Baller League, all over the Baller League, which like just feels like, which I don't understand. I don't understand what a Baller League is whenever I've seen it, but that's the kind of stuff where you just need to have that all over. Like every Fulham game now for the rest of the year should have about AEW All In, as much as it might piss off, and probably pisses off Marco Silva as much as anything, because he's like thinking, you know, that money you could have spent on the fucking new striker for me rather than having to wheel Raul Jimenez out and his dubious knees, who's like falling apart at the seams. But like, it's that
creative
kind of
stuff. Tug of war and gladiators, like Andy says here. There's other stuff they could do. Like I said, he did do a lot better job last year than he did the first year. And the first year, it was about the event, wasn't it? It was just wrestling at Wembley, and that sold itself. They had to put more work in. Not last year, obviously the year before. They're gonna have to put even more work in this year. But still early days. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I suppose moving on from there, we've got some other AEW stories to get into. The least of which JP, the first one. A bit of an update on Ronda Rousey.
Yes, in terms of Ronda Rousey, her AEW Revolution appearance, as she quote her, bit of a fuck you to TKO. I'm going to need to share the screen on it. Oh, no, you're doing that. Good lad. On here as well. She admitted that was her recent appearance at Revolution, was a shot at TKO, as well as effectively supporting her mate Marina Shafir, who's fucking awesome, in there as well. And but it was a funny one on there, because she did mention about the whole Netflix thing, and she said it'd be easier to beg for forgiveness instead of permission on this one on there as well. Yeah, obviously it was as much about like sort of getting her into the public limelight, because she's got her MMA fight on Netflix, which is going to do really big numbers given the kind of the card that they've put together on those top 3 fights, and that's against Gina Carano, and that's in Inglewood, California as well. So yeah, I mean, I have to say,
it's a weird way to do it, isn't it? Obviously, we're not going to do your full pay-per-view review for Revolution, but like, what a strange way to like. If that was the case, and she was coming back she was appearing purely to promote Netflix, and had no, obviously the Toni Storm situation is sensitive. She's going to be away for a long time, and that's all any of us obviously need to know at this point. But that match is never happening. But even if that hadn't happened, that Toni Storm was, going to be on the roster for the rest of the year, we'd all be sat here expecting a match with Ronda Rousey, and instead, it was just purely promotional stuff for Netflix. You would have thought maybe they could have just changed the way they did it rather than it being a face-off. Maybe she could have made a save. Maybe she could have got involved in a way that didn't look like they were building to a match. It's obvious how they got in her head, like you say there. That it is very much a here want to stick it to TKO, as she said herself, but very strange the way, and again, it felt that way on the night. I don't know if you saw in the presser afterwards, Tony Khan, when pushed about it, pretty much said exactly that. She's always welcome here, but that was kind of it and done. I didn't fully take that as gospel at the time, but yeah, very strange, even considering the Toni Storm injury.
It is strange. Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, and we'll get on to that in a minute, because obviously there's a prevailing theory that's really hard not to escape my mind about what's happening with Toni Storm. But in terms of Ronda Rousey, I'm probably thinking if there was a time that you were going to bring her in for something like this, simply because, like, if you'd done this before the announcement of the Gina Carano fight, it would have felt like, oh my God, you would have been thinking about the WWE and the taint from that. Instead, it was about like, oh, she's going back to MMA, like in terms of like a prevailing thought about what to do with Ronda Rousey. I think so much depends on what happens in that fight, because if that fight goes well, and she would be favourite going in against Gina Carano, because Gina Carano hasn't fought for like something stupid like 15, 16 years. If she defeats Gina Carano, then is that going to be her going back into UFC for a couple of fights, and if it's kind of depending on the nature of it, if it's a convincing win. And if she does, is it a case then that you think, oh, actually, there's a bit of the kind of stink has gone out of her, and AEW is probably like a better natural fit, because I you know, as it was so bad that second run that she had, but I'm still convinced that there is somewhat of enough a name that's worth their while, like giving this a pump. Yeah, I think you can rehab her easy. The Tony Storm match, you can come back to that at another point. I mean, her and Marina Shafir would work really well. I mean, I love the fact that immediately after that angle, she came out, and then there was like the interaction with Moxley as he was coming out for his match with Takeshita. I just loved all of that stuff, and I think it would be a case that if the MMA fight goes well for what's the name of the MVP, isn't it? That's Jake Paul's organization. If that goes well, then it would be a case of like, right, get her in. Like, even if it's the shortest of short-term deals, it's isolated kind of like matches. Let her have a match with Marina Shafir as well. Like, you can do all
if she
of
wants
those.
it is the thing, innit?
Yeah.
I think it's going to take that. It's going to like, that's what this feels like to me. Like, not as much as, and again, it came out of left field, didn't it? Nobody expected Ronda Rousey to be on the pay-per-view. But like, obviously, the idea of a match with Toni Storm, obviously, it was never anything that was going to happen. But it almost feels like now that we know that, and now that we, obviously see these comments from Ronda, and obviously she said herself, she saw AEW as like a more adult version of WWE, and that the wrestlers have a little bit more leeway, and she was saying all nice things like that. Maybe that's what it was. It was like an audition for AEW to kind of impress her and make her want to come back for some big money match down the line. And yeah, maybe that's the gamble. Maybe one day we can do the Toni Storm match. Maybe one day we could do something with Mercedes, or like you say, do a horsewoman thing, or don't know what Jessamine Duke is up to these days, but they could maybe figure something out. I'm sure that's probably more now seeing this story in the cold light of day what they were after.
Yeah, exactly. I wondered about the whole horsewoman thing, because that would be one of the things to make sense. And I think there's such a natural fit between them and the Death Riders as well. They just it felt like she seamlessly kind of fitted into that mold. God knows what Jessamine Duke's up to. I was just amazed that it wasn't announced that day that Shayna Baszler had signed some.
Apparently she's a trainer at WWE again, so I think she's got some kind of WWE contract. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense if you think about her like age-wise and the amount of sort of like mileage through doing various MMA fights throughout the year as well. She just would have been great to kind of bring into the mix. But yeah, it's a wait and see one. We'll know on May 16th if that goes well. Like, you don't know what it's going to be, because it's the likelihood if that goes really well, then it's UFC is going to be like the likely port of call, and they won't give a shit about the AEW Revolution thing. They wouldn't give a toss, and why should they?
Well, moving on from there, speaking of places that you can see fights, I don't know if that's a good segue or not. Cancel your AEW Plus subscriptions, everyone, as Triller TV has started to display on the website now that you cannot sign up as a new subscriber anymore. They haven't said anything about existing subscribers to the AEW Plus. Different than the Triller Plus service, which will give you GCW and all of the WrestleMania weekend stuff, specifically the AEW Plus package. You can't sign up to it anymore, so I would expect coming shortly some kind of announcement on the people who've got those subs going by the wayside. And again, as a few people said on our Discord, would not trust the fuckers when it comes to cancelling your direct debit or your standing order on your card each month. Make sure you go in and just make sure that's taken off, because obviously we're going to get into some TV and streaming related news here. JP, obviously they are in a weird spot right now where looking for a new suitor at this point, looking for some kind of new owners, some kind of investments. It's not a coincidence. A lot of people are, again, on our Discord and in our community noting that AEW, after me, I cursed it, JP. I don't know if you heard a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'm sad to see Triller go. If it does go, it's been great over the years. I've always, back from the days when Jeff Jarrett was advertising the flip top, I've barely had any technical problems. The streams are always great, and literally the last 2 weeks of Dynamite, I've barely been able to play them. I've ended up having to go legitimately because I can't get my AEW, unfortunately, still in Vietnam. I can get AEW episodes and AEW Dark, and everything else it says is not available in my country at the minute. So I literally had to go hooky means to watch Dynamite last week, and this week just about made it through. But clearly, like, the two things are related, whether it's something to do with the stream being split off to my AEW, which I don't think makes sense from a technical point of view, or it's just purely they haven't got the fucking money to pay for the servers anymore. doesn't feel like Triller is too long for this world at this point. Obviously, this new suit talking about putting other things on there as well as, other sports or the live events and whatever else. Reminds me of this bloke who's taking over Brewdog now, who's saying that he's going to have Carling at his pubs and Carlsberg in his pubs and stuff like that, which also reminds me of certain wrestling companies when they were taken over by new ownership. But yeah, Triller, at least in the form we know it now, it's not going to exist, is it, by next year's Mania at the very least?
No, it's dead. It's dead. And if it's bought out by, Orange Crush, who I remember because they sponsored GCW at WrestleMania, didn't they?
Right, okay.
Do you remember that? They had that, what was it? They had like quite a cool music video and stuff, and they were like, they had like these like kind of photo albums and stuff like that they were doing. There was like kind of
that's the future now.
Element to it.
Apparently, Wu-Tang Clan, when they were doing their gigs in Manchester the other week, they were having like literally between songs throwing adverts up on the big screen. You got to fund it somehow, Got to imagine that's the future of wrestling, maybe.
It possibly is. I mean, it's a funny one on here because he apparently the guy who's Adam Abdallah, who is the new suitor for Triller, he heads up the New York City public relations powerhouse Cultural Council on there as well. Yeah, it's coming from F4W on this, so you have to be slightly skeptical about like who actually wrote this. Yeah, exactly. These days, he also sits on the board of,
anyway.
Yeah. It's just weird. It really is. Just been taken over by a monster on there. And he booked Jersey Championship Wrestling, JCW. So you're like, okay, I'm not convinced money-wise there's anything in this as well. And this makes me think, obviously, I'm assuming my AEW is kind of brought up as a response to Triller that's going to be going bust. And at some point, AEW did need their own OTT service. They would have needed this at some stage. I was wondering, though, why wouldn't they perhaps come to an agreement with a lot of these indies just in order to just have more content on there as well and just have them move over to my AEW and just have all of those companies who are currently with Triller as well? Because I know, obviously, WXW left and they probably weren't getting any money at all. I doubt they're getting much from IWTV either. It's like this is a good chance for my AEW to go, look, not only are we the home of everything AEW and Ring of Honor, but you also have all these indies as well, which can work as a pipeline. And it's like a nicer, tighter fit. And then if they want to put together their own big WrestleMania-like event, you've got all of these companies and you've got the app that's going to be showing it as well. I just thought that would work really better rather than this, frankly, which feels like
it just feels a bit rushed. It feels a bit rushed by AEW. Like, again, like it's fantasy booking probably to think all of the ROH archive, like, even all of the ROH library isn't on the ROH service yet, but, all of the PWG archive, something like that. Like, even just down to having working apps, like there's TV apps, because I believe it's the people behind payperview.com who run in my AEW, at least the technology behind it. But there's not like you can't get an app for your Android phone still. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's an Apple app for the phones still. It does feel a little bit like a company like that would have apps they could port over. And obviously, that hasn't been put together yet because, this was probably a reaction to Triller rather than something they were 100% planning to do soon. Whereas, like I say, we said it from the start, didn't we? When AEW launched, it was the first conversation. Or imagine it. We could have back then it was a competitor to the WWE Network. We were imagining all of that. It's just, it's probably had to move along and come a little bit quicker than we thought there. But there we go. I reminded Garrett to cancel his AEW subscription on Triller. Hopefully, he's still got the Triller Plus subscription for the indies. But I'm sure IWTV will be the ones mopping up those indies if they don't end up on my AEW anyway. But R.I.P. in peace, sweet Prince. I was always been a big fan of Triller, and it is sad to see it go this way.
It is, I know.
Slap fighting couldn't save them, JP, unfortunately.
Slap fighting couldn't. Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson. Do you remember they had that on there as well during COVID? In front of a giant fucking electrical box.
Versus the rap battles, they were great, on the point. Speaking of
Dutch football. As well. So if you're missing your Troy Parrott fix and you're not going to be getting in the World Cup and you want to see, well, how's he getting on at AZ Alkmaar for the remaining 7-8 weeks of the season? You would have got yourself over to Triller TV, but who knows now? So the Eredivisie is in as much as a limbo as GCW is, which is not two entities I ever thought would be connected together, but here we are.
There you go. Well, there we go. YouTube membership seems to be the way people are going, as Ewan says there, which takes us nicely into. There's a slew of stories, so I'll summarise them quickly when it comes to such TV matters. But speaking of companies doing that, NXT of all mini companies, I suppose they're a company that counts. Moving their library from Peacock to YouTube, obviously for the US viewers in the main, but apparently the full library has come across as far as the what were formerly known as pay-per-views, premium live events, and all of the back catalogue, or at least as far as what they had, existing on back on WWE Network days and then onto the Peacock days. So tells you again, WWE are moving forward with basically the deal seems to be anything that's not on Netflix goes on YouTube at this point. That seems to be their current plan. Although it might be a long-term solution for them. Apparently, it's not just Triller. Technical issues did beget the Raw stream on Netflix this week as well, JP, as well. So if it can happen to even the biggest in the world, then maybe I don't feel so bad about StreamYard not quite being compatible with my internet out here. It's how it goes. But any thoughts on those stories before we move out of the business section of things, JP?
A couple of thoughts on these. I mean, in terms of the stream on Netflix, that's a really because generally Netflix have done when it came to the transition to them doing live sports or sports related or sports adjacent events, they've actually done quite well because they've got a lot of the baseball opening weekends as well. They've got 3 sets of baseball games, including the Field of Dreams one and stuff like that. They've got those that are coming up in the near future. The fact that NXT is onto YouTube, it suggests they can't sell it, which always makes me think about it kind of makes me go back to the ratings stuff, which because it's so weird now that we've got this, I don't know, the fact that the ratings have kind of, we had the Nielsen ratings and then they went massively down when we had panel versus data. And it's oh no, we've got a course correction and they've all started going up. I think really apart from one show, and that appears to be NXT. NXT is just sort of it almost feels like people are bored of it. And as someone who tried to watch the highlights of it, I was like, yeah, I don't fucking blame you. And that was me watching a 10-minute clip on bloody YouTube. And I was kind of somewhat bored on there as well. But there isn't, it's a strange thing really, isn't it? Because you would have thought that, I mean, that NXT library might have some kind of value, but it doesn't have as much as they kind of would have expected from it. But I mean, it'll be on YouTube. I know on YouTube today, they did have, what was it? Every Danhausen appearance in WWE.
We're getting into a bit of it, don't we?
I know we are.
Playlist's only going to get better and better as the years go on. But I'll say on that. But yeah, they are. And it's the same with it keeps happening for me and Hamflet. We keep joking about it, but we'll be covering some weird bit. I'm sure it'll be helpful for the Stone Cold Crazy lads as well, formerly also known as the Retro Boys. We'll be reviewing something. It'll be oh, where can you get that? Oh, somebody will literally put up the entire Razor Ramon career retrospective on YouTube, or there'll be an NWO story of this is all stuff that they could have done in the past with WWE Network and don't seem to be able to do with Netflix. And again, like I say, with those weird lines that are drawn with Peacock being no more, then yeah, it probably makes sense to do that with stuff. But on that related note, obviously, yeah, speaking of which, and speaking of a show that doesn't seem to have a formal home anymore, for whatever it's worth, there is a Saturday night main event coming up, JP, pretty big one. It seems, coming from Madison Square Garden. Apparently, that is the plan, according to WWE. It will be July the 18th, and the Boston fans very much will love hearing all about that. But yeah, this coming from WrestleVotes Radio. Again, we'll see, how seriously they'll take it. They haven't really been taking the Saturday night's main events shows particularly seriously since they were moved off of TV, but that's coming up in July. And the only other WWE story I wanted to mention as well, get your thoughts on as well. Apparently, speaking of corrupt businessmen, TKO Executive Chairman Ari Emanuel apparently has been reaching out to President Donald Trump to settle the Ticketmaster and Live Nation antitrust lawsuit, which I know you'll have thoughts on as well. Rich people making sure they continue to make stupid money off stupid ticket sales. So yeah, maybe Saturday night's main event not being on TV anymore, the money will be saved by the extra money they can make in fees and from exclusive arenas that they very much love in this business.
And I wonder where those fees would go. Would it be a Trump-related business? Given that he has managed to, he's using the Iran war by saying it's over to try and affect the market, so the market will go up. So, and then the Iranians will come back going.
Hasn't made flight prices go down yet, but I'm hoping that goes.
Well, exactly, because guess what? Planes require fuel, isn't it? It's the fucking insanity of these. Didn't seem to think about that.
No, it's like even here, like the stupidness, even for me, I always say about it, like, how cheap it is out here in Vietnam, but it's cheap for me, isn't it? Because I'm here, with Western savings and such. I'm not a local who lives kind of hand to mouth, and like the petrol price doubling affects every Grab driver out there. It affects every delivery person out there. It affects restaurants just generally making food. But of course, it'll be these big companies will be insulated from it because they always are.
Oh, they always are, and they always have been, and they've got the perfect administration for that to happen as well. So if you're a fan of that, then yeah, well, your boy's in charge.
Doesn't chuck you in each other's pockets, does it?
Oh, God, no. Like, if there's someone who is more willing to be in someone's pocket as well, and Ari Emanuel, like, I would be stunned if there is a single ounce of morality inside his body about stuff like this.
Did you see that? I want to hear Jesse Ventura's thoughts on it. Did you see his quote the other day where he was saying that apparently
Piers Morgan, was it?
Yeah, apparently WWE put Donald Trump in the WWE Hall of Fame in exchange for getting Vince McMahon out of trouble. No, like the Hall of Fame happened like 10 years before that, or 15 years before that, probably. Time. Doesn't stop our Jesse mouthing off. He'll have thoughts.
Yeah. Don't ruin the narrative though for Jesse. Like if Jesse says it, Jesse hates Trump. I'm willing to let a lot of shit slide, even if Jesse is looking suspiciously like Santa these days as well. Like, God love him. Like, for that, he's always been a fucking maverick, that bloke. So yeah. God bless. But he appeared on Piers Morgan, which is the most rage bait show in the world, where it's just like exists for people to shout at each other in massive form. So yeah, there you go.
Well, moving on from this, some quick wrestler-related stories, JP, before we get into some other stuff.
Yeah. Cheers, mate, for me doing this one on here. Danhausen. Yeah, thanks. Danhausen has filed to trademark "You Are Cursed" and "I'm a Cunt." No, he hasn't done that one. Amid recent WWE filings, if only he had done on there, or his catchphrase of "I can't wrestle." This is through the Patent and Trademark Office website. And he has applied this for "You Are Cursed," which I feel every time I see this, man. There's nothing that's going to change my mind on this. This is a hill I can get light bits of amusement in like that other people will get. This just feels like a comedian that I don't get. I just don't get. I never got Joe Pasquale. I never understood like any mainstream appeal for him. That's what Dan
Pasquale
is.
There's a title possible.
Dan Pasquale. That's what he is, isn't he? Pasqualehausen. Yeah, he's also WWE have filed applications to trademark the terms "deep breath," "girlhausen," "ghoulhausen," "kidhausen,"
Money?
"kid-hausen." Not Paul Walterhausen, which is what Paul Walterhausen should be doing and will do at some point, and I'll hate it, and that will be the straw that breaks the camel back with me on there as well. He has got a history of trademarking stuff, and trademarked his face paint, the term "love that Danhausen," and the phrase "very nice, very evil," and and also he's because he's got his this picture with him and I Show Speed in there as well, like that you can see if you
because he's money,
which is his other phrase, "AI is going to kill the world," in there as well. So he's done all of those. I don't get it, mate. I is he going to? He's never going to wrestle, is he? He's just going to be like a WrestleMania host.
I mean, he's got just as much a chance as Gunther is appearing on WrestleMania this year. And by appearing, I literally mean that. Like, they're either going to make him, you're right, the host, or as Hamlet as a fantasy book. Then I'm completely on board with it just because it'd drive Matty mad. He's going to get Stone Cold Stunned to go with his Cold Steve impressions from TV last week, or he's going to do something with maybe a list of legends get involved. He takes it a few different finishes or something like that. I think it's covered, honestly, because there's money in it. And I think it is an interesting story that he's still obviously he owns the copyright in his own name, but he's doing new copyrights while WWE are doing copyrights as well. Like, it does feel a little bit like he's the type of guy who stands up for himself, actually, pushes back on. That's kind of seems like the story at AEW. Maybe he wasn't standing up for him. He was standing up for Phil, which I'll always respect. But, it does feel like he's somebody that will put his head above the parapet. But The reason for it, he's got all bits aside, he's got a lot to protect there, you know. He copyrighted his own face paint, JP, you know. Even Sting didn't think of that until our mate Daniel Housen did. So there we go. We could close out night 2, maybe even Gunther. Maybe that could be a good use of the roster right now. He's working, mate. He's getting over, and this is all signs that it's going the right way for him.
If that was a match, at WrestleMania, was honestly to God, if that was a match at WrestleMania.
Gunther or Danhausen? I'm interested. I'll probably have Gunther over on balance, yeah, probably.
The fact that is even something that you would raise, like I would have Gunther destroy him in there as well. Frankly, I'd prefer to see him in there against Brock Lesnar, just to see what happened at WrestleMania. And that was one of the thoughts I had during my absence. Was like, what if they did Brock Lesnar versus Bad Bunny in what would appear to be a microcosm of modern America? As much as anything, that type of a match. But yeah, Jesus Christ, he just should be nowhere near a ring.
In the right company, though, would you agree? Better off there than ROH or AEW. Surely better fit for him, WWE versus him being an AEW.
Yeah, he's naturally a better fit, and for the kind of stuff they do. But also, I'm not the target audience, so I kind of get that.
But you're a big fan of the Lizard Bloke from AAA, no?
Mate, I was down on it. The moment I saw that fucker appear, I went, oh, no, I see what's happening here, isn't it? As well. I'd sooner have Nino Hamburguesa back as well. At least he hits fans for shits and giggles. At least I'd be more entertained by that there in the meantime. Yeah, Danhausen and Mr. What is the chances of Danhausen and Mr. Iguana versus Damian Priest and Ron Killings at WrestleMania?
Always a possibility. Always a possibility. I thought you were going to say bring in what was his name, the Warhorse or whatever his name was. The other guy who was trending around the other same time Danhausen was about 5 years ago. Remember that? That could happen,
mate. Maybe there is. Yeah, it's.
We'll get you, JP. You'll join the Danhausen army soon. We'll have you back. We'll have you.
Yeah, the mascot stuff. If there's one company where it's going to work, it's them as much as anything. I cannot see a world that
they're making it part of the bit. He's literally saying on screen now about how many t-shirts he's selling and stuff like that, like they are gonna make money hand over fist off him. So there we go. Matty will turn though, like I say, he'll either be the one dissenting voice at WrestleMania when he maybe heel Stone Cold Stunner, Cold Steve, you know, or maybe it'll go the other way around. Matty will be sat on his hands while 23,000 people, or how many of the people that are there at WrestleMania this year, maybe 21,000, something like that, will all be exploding. He'll join them eventually. He'll be one of us, like you.
There's a test. Which is going to sell more tickets, WrestleMania Night 1 or All in London?
Like that. I think All In. I really think All In. Yeah. Now we're going to get into the gate and stuff like that, but I think I absolutely, even though I'm a little bit colder on All In than I was a few weeks ago, absolutely All In, I think, at this point. But there we go. Yeah.
I just hope Matty says, sorry, one last Dan, as soon as he comes out, Matty just turns around to Steph and just goes, I'm off for a shit. And then just that's it. And that's him done. And he's giving it a good length of time so we get the entrances and stuff done.
I did that at many WXW weekend, mate. It was always a good way to spend some time when certain wrestlers were coming out. But anywho, moving on from there, other wrestler-related news. Tama Tonga has been in the news this week, JP, and it has been confirmed now that he was in fact fined by WWE, as he did do basically what Paul did, which was film the rehearsals backstage. He's not the first. He might be the last now, I suppose. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they started an entire Netflix series around this now. Apparently it's the height of crime now, and apparently it's a big old figure that he was fined as well. But I don't know. I'm a crying for Tama Tonga's pockets. Maybe not necessarily, but no. Like I say, think of it the next time Triple H puts a video on his own Twitter of him showing Jacob Fatu how to do his entrance or something equally benign.
Mate, how does he explain the existence of the gorilla position then? If that's not breaking kayfabe, then what the fuck is? Like, the idea they rehearsed this, shock horror. I mean, yeah, I'm never going to shed any tears for Tama Tonga, but Jesus Christ, like, I look at this and it makes no sense to me whatsoever for that. Particularly as they're
real example made stuff in it. Especially if it's a big figure, like it's being reported, like in the 5-figure range.
Yeah. Exactly, like 10 grand for that, like bloody hellfire. But yeah, it's such a weird. It's so weird that being the case, and considering that Unreal has got some Emmy nominations, of which I looked at the other nominations, other things in that category, nothing else great. really. Like Drive to Survive is probably the most notable one on there as well. It just appears that it's making up the numbers for like sports documentary content. So yeah, it's so weird for them doing that. But it's Tamatonga, so how much of a shit do I really give? Very little.
Speaking like a true SmackDown viewer.
Exactly. In there as well. But someone else who it's still always difficult. Like even when I brought up his name earlier on, I always feel like feel dirty bringing up. But Brock Lesnar apparently is grateful to be back in WWE for a short time. He was on the Spittin' Chicklets podcast, which is all about like Canadian sports. I think it is.
I just assumed there's going to be some weird right-wing podcast with like Erica Kirk on or something like that. Okay, it's a bit little more innocent.
You won't know exactly. No, sadly not. That weird woman is she celebrating or is she just doing entrances to her husband's death?
She's staring at the cameras, what she's usually doing. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I don't get her at all in there. It is rumored that he's obviously going to be retiring from the ring in 2026 with SummerSlam in Minneapolis even. Yeah. Potato there. It being a destination for his final match. He said that he's back in the company for a short time there as well. He said he got tested along the way by the old timers and the guys. Not sure he did. I'm pretty sure he would have beaten the shit out of the old timers and the guys who tried to test him back in 2002, 2003. So I don't know where that came from in there. You had to pay your dues. Again, didn't really pay his dues, did he? He just came in and got a push to the top and was champion within like fucking 6
youngest to be champion at the time, wasn't he? Yeah, all of that. All these kids
months.
today, they're all soft, JP. They're just giving it, participation trophies, Apparently, yeah, he goes on those though. But I do think it's interesting to hear him say that it's a short time. So that's confirmation that it's probably ending this year for Brock. Let's hope he puts over Femi over at Mania, and then he's not bumping like someone who's got him. He has for everything you'd say about Brock, and I agree. Not bad than all of the worst things you could say about him. He was bumping like a madman for Obafemi this week, and that just made. But the problem was, as good as it was, the way like he struggled when Oba picked him up and all that stuff, it just made me think he's not fucking losing here. Let's hope he is, or at least he's putting over Gunther at SummerSlam or something like that, and that's the longer term plan.
Oh, God knows there is no way he is losing to Obafemi. I would say that now. I can't see that happening. Just given the way, is he going to bump for Obafemi and then job to him at WrestleMania? And you just think, this is Brock Lesnar. He isn't going to do that. There's nothing that's going to change in it. I wouldn't even be convinced he'd lose to Gunther at SummerSlam. Who would be the natural opponent? Obviously, there's one of the bigger first-time matches they can do. And given Gunther's gimmick,
if Gunther's in the plans, obviously, he's not an important thing to think about when you're putting stuff together.
Insane.
Especially WrestleMania,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still plans, but who fucking knows what they are.
But they'll have a plan for fucking Mr. Iguana, but not Gunther. They'll have that in mind, like insane bollocks. But there you go.
Well, on a related story or a similar story, Chris Jericho doing an interview rounds today. I won't go through the full thing, but saying he still has some career to go. Obviously goes in conjunction with him, apparently himself filing somebody's been on the trademark website this week, filed the trademark, the word cornerstone, which fucking worries me because like the first half of the story is like, he's got a lot left to give. Let's hope it's in WWE. Let's hope specifically it's on SmackDown where I'll never watch it. Cornerstone nickname. That sounds like something. I've been the cornerstone of AEW, and he gets his fucking. I think Roby said it on Twitter. His Sting retirement from Tony Khan at the end of the year. Like one of the fucking great things Tony Khan, amongst many other things, has done over the last few months. JP, I don't know if you saw, was apparently freeze Chris Jericho's contract and both not allow him to appear on AEW TV and also block him from appearing on WWE TV, which is just a great bit of charity for me. Use the money you're wasting on fucking Leo Rush and all of those other jobbers on AEW Collision. Just sack all them. Use the money to keep Jericho, but just don't put him on telly because it protects the rest of us from having to see Chris Jericho. But I don't know. This trademark makes me worry that maybe there's been some kind of breakthrough there, and we might well see him back. Please talk me out of it and tell me I'm wrong.
No, mate. As soon as I saw that word cornerstone, I was like, "Where's the natural fit for that?" It's
doesn't fit
AEW.
in WWE, does it? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. He was never a cornerstone. Like he never was in WWE. So him coming back this feels like AEW. My fear is him coming back at Dynasty just because it's in Canada, that they would end up doing that. And then the problem is there'll be a big reaction on that first night because that's the idea we haven't seen him for ages, while simultaneously forgetting about how bad he was for how many years was it? It was like sort of 3-4 years of just, certainly 3 years of just like, nah.
I mean, I'd say his entire run, but that might be harsh.
There was early parts of the run that was like,
I'm sure I was on air defending it in the first year. I'm sure I was.
Yeah, and funny enough, I've been reading that This Is AEW book, This Is All Elite book, where there's like the amount. It's like a Chris Jericho hagiography at the beginning. So all these wrestlers talking about how great and what a legend he is at the start of it. And I was like, when were these quotes picked up on? Because it seemed to be he was pissing off a whole load of fucking people there in the meantime. I was like, Jesus Christ, send him to CMLL. If you're going to do something, just send him there. Send him to places that we're not going to see.
You can work Dan Arzer and the Iguana. There you go. Sorted. Everyone's problems resolved.
Do that. That would be great in there. But that's my fear. My fear is that he's going back there. So, yeah. I don't know. Oh. Yeah. Oh, God. No.
Another quick wrestler update news.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mickey Wardlow, soon to be on in April on Amazon. He's going to be back for the rebooted American Gladiators. He was in attendance at AEW Revolution in his probably in his dressing gown, his sliders with a packet of skins that he picked up there as well. He was backstage in a backstage capacity there, just there to visit. By all accounts, no plans on his in-ring return yet. There as well. So it was a torn pec that he had out again when he was going to be getting that. Another big push that's not happened. I mean, I've forgotten what the bloke fucking looks like until I saw this picture of him the other day there as well. So, yeah, God knows what is happening with Wardlow, and God knows what value there is, really. If anything, he just should hope that this American Gladiators reboot is something that kind of does quite well, because weirdly enough, he's probably better suited to that. And there's a fellow on British Gladiators that kind of looks like Mickey Wardlow as well. In there, a fellow with a beard and stuff. I know what you mean. What his name is.
I mean, there's always like 4 fellas on Love Island. Each look a bit like Mickey Wardlow, but just a crack and look on that. That's all I'm saying. But we'll see. We'll see if that does go anywhere.
He looks like one of those blokes in Birmingham. Do you remember those 4 fellas with tight jeans and no socks? You had that photo. That's who Mike Wardlow looks like. Him and some of the
could be in the group easily.
Giant. There it is.
Well, moving on from there, other quick news from the New Japan side. Obviously, a pretty big story. Will Ospreay returning to New Japan at Sakura Genesis, which is already a pretty busy-looking card with 4 big matches we can mention. And obviously, let's add a 5th, which is a trios match, which is apparently the way New Japan are choosing to retain Will Ospreay. Obviously, teaming there with Nare and the Great Okan against Yuyamura, Taichi, and El Desperado on the undercard in Ryogoku. Weird that. I mean, I thought AEW bringing him back in a TV match against Jobber McGillicuddy was one thing. Blake Christian or whatever his name is. Feels a bit odd, but maybe it'll play into the story with obviously Cal Newman having just won New Japan Cup and it being his stable now. I'm sure there'll be some to and throw it, and something's going to happen there story-wise. But yeah, very weird one.
It is very weird. It's weird they called it an all-star 6-man tag, because I was thinking there's one star there. Yeah.
All the stars are here.
There's him and there's 5 other wrestlers, I would say. Like the word star is doing a lot of heavy lifting in there as well. It's very weird bringing him back in. I mean, if anything, and it's not like the Pac match happens next. He's already had that other match. It's not like, we need to get him some kind of reps. If he appeared, it made me think, actually, is Callum Newman winning the title at Sakura Genesis? Which God knows with modern day New Japan, if that's the case. And they suddenly decide, we're going to go with him and Ospreay at some point.
And the Ogden will be fuming.
Yeah, I wouldn't be that much of a surprise. I mean, I'm kind of with Callum Newman.
Have you caught up with any New Japan while you've been away? Anything come up?
So saw the Dome, and it was. For what it was fine. It was the last 3 matches that he lived and died from, and I thought they were great. And then they just appeared to make a whole series of very weird decisions afterwards, which just felt, oh no, you've learnt nothing here, lads, have you? You're just back to the old sort of like routine. This one, I mean, I was less bothered by Callum Newman winning, because I think they're very much like, if you're throwing shit up against a wall and seeing what sticks, you might as well just do it with a group of young lads. So I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with Yu Yamura's story taking a bit longer to kind of get to that place. It's just like, and I was fine when there was a load of like what I would consider dross gone from it. But then I watched Konosuke Takeshita versus Yujiro Takahashi, and I was like, why am I watching this? Like, why is this a match that's you're bringing out Takeshita? This is the best match you have? Like,
he was over with that crowd. They loved him. Hometown crowd. The one place where that match could have worked, in fairness.
Yeah, I suppose in there as well. But like, it's a funny one for this, because like them bringing Ospreay back into the mix. I mean, John said it on here. It's just like I can see like what the logic is of them thinking, all right, we're going to have this match, but he's not going to be doing a G1. So that G1 Chicago show is going to be all G1 matches from what they've announced. So you could have him at Dominion, I suppose. It doesn't feel like the best use of Will Ospreay. You'd sooner he just made a special appearance, was on commentary throughout the match, and then it led to a match afterwards as well. And Callum Newman loses and throws his toys out the pram at Ospreay, and then that builds to the match at Dominion, and maybe they could do something there. That would have been like a better way for it. But instead, just having me on this just feels like it's a needless match, because you want when Ospreay's back wrestling in New Japan that it feels special. This isn't special. So I don't understand, like, I don't get the logic.
The opposite of. Yeah, and obviously it's a busy card, you know. Friends of Post Wrestling here for the write-up. Yota Tsuji, Callum Newman, obviously. The main event of Sakura Genesis. Oscar and Yuto Ice against Zack Sabre Jr. and Takeshita versus Shota Umino on that card as well. But I wonder if they could have maybe made some better plans. But who knows? Like I say, it might just be a big story beat that we're getting there as well. But yeah, moving on from there. Last couple of news notes before we get to on finally.
We have indeed. Rev Pro and CMLL, they've announced their Fantastica Mania event for October, and it's going to be in Wolverhampton at the Hangar. They were there very recently for high stakes there as well, and it seemed to do quite well in terms of like the numbers that they drew there as well at the same time. Seem to be running Wolves quite regularly. They're back there on July 25th there as well. So
I don't think this last one did great with it being the Friday. Being the Saturday, sorry.
That's it. It's a Friday night kind of town, I think, to quote Liam. It very much is, because you do need to be quite pissed to deal with the beauty that is Wolverhampton there as well. And then the final one, I'm quite happy about these. We have 2 announcements for the Hall of Fame class, and I think two fellas who thoroughly deserve to be in there. Bad News Brown, Alan Kogue, or Kawagi. I'm not quite sure how exactly you say it. It sounds like it rhymes with Mr. Miyagi there. He's joining the class there for 2026. Obviously, he won a bronze medal in judo at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. It was before I was born, so I've never seen any footage in there as well. Always loved him in WWE. Just the fact that when he came out in a Royal Rumble, he was mates with no one. And that was always his gimmick. He was like the one man who never was in a stable. It was great. But the other one, the master of the universe, Big Sid, big softball Sid, Psycho Sid Beauty. Oh yeah, he is going to be in the Hall of Fame as well. And you have to say, if you're having a Hall of Fame, there's a fella who's thoroughly deserved, if only for being the squash match king in there and having one of the great looks in wrestling there. So yeah, I hope his Harlem sewer rats are going in there soon. That's for Bad News Brown. That's nothing to do with Sid. I imagine Sid does not like rats.
Put a softball in with him. There you go, you're sorted.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Fucking love it.
I mean, it's not real. The only thing about this, though, is it is a bit bittersweet. It's not a real Hall of Fame induction. It's like, obviously, post dead, and it's the, what's it called, the legacy wing, which initially they used for like, oh, you're a wrestler from the 1920s, so we're not going to bother giving you a proper induction. But we're going to add your name to the list. You're in the Hall of Fame. It's still good. It's still good. They've shifted the last 5 years to doing that for basically dead wrestlers, people who didn't get round to inducting and making a big deal of, fuck it, we'll just quietly slide you into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, it is a bit of a mixed bag, that one, but I'm more concerned that, what are we calling him here? They're going with Psycho Sid / Psycho Sid Yudi. Seems to be the title here, but I don't know. I was always partial to Sid Justice. Or maybe Sid Vicious is more up your street.
Sid Vicious, mate. I was born a Sid Vicious man. I'll die a Sid Vicious man. There, that's what I want. Well, Lord Humongous would be Matty's one in there. That's how deep he goes on that front when he was doing USWA. But
not a bad mixtape idea there from Ewan, by the way. One match from the Hall of Fame people. That could be something. We'll definitely. I mean, we'll do. We've done we did squash matches, so we covered off Sid there. Obviously, we did Sean, so we've done one of those matches as well. But there's plenty, like say, Lord Humongous stuff and all kinds we could potentially cover at some point. So give that some thought.
Lord, him versus Sting at Halloween Havoc. Was it Halloween Havoc 90? The one where it's the fake Sting and it's Barry Windham who got his hair cut.
Dick feel good, Dick feel bad, and Dick feel worse. Yeah, same gimmick. Yeah, that was
fucking awesome gimmick as well from the Feel Goods. Like, honestly, brilliant stuff.
We'll certainly pick a story that will make you feel bad. And finally, Ted DiBiase Jr. has released a statement following his acquittal. JP, the good guys win. He didn't do it at all. All that money that he spent on a boat and a house and all of that stuff apparently was all legitimately gotten. Obviously, this welfare fraud scandal, which has been going on for years, which also involved his dad, which also, according to Ted Jr., ripped up the family and they managed to hold it together and get through it. All turned out to be all bollocks, but did expect him to be not involved in the WrestleMania build this year, JP, but I guess he's available now to appear with in Corpus Christi, maybe again with Cody Rhodes, or could do something with Randy Legacy related. Fuck knows, but Jesus Christ, there's many jokes you can make there about the family and money and all such like that, but just fucking writes itself. This story, doesn't it?
It does, and to quote, and to paraphrase Father Ted, the money was just resting in his account in there the whole time. Like, it really is.
How'd they get away with it?
Don't know. It was so obvious as well. I mean, 160 years may seem hard, unless he lives to be like 100 and nearly basically 200 years old. In which case,
it was welfare money meant for COVID. Felt like for COVID, wasn't it? It was all of that.
Oh, and when you see his quotes as well, and it is verbatim here, what he says, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord." Unlike Ted, who has no intention of repaying. That boat is his, and it stays fucking his as well in there. That's from Romans 12:19. That's where he'll probably be on holiday somewhere over the summer as well, fucking living it up at the Colosseum. Probably take a piss in the middle of the Vatican or something and just say it was what God told me to do it. And also, not a direct biblical quote. I want to thank Scott Gilbert, Sidney Lampton Morris, and Eric Hirschman for believing the truth and fighting for justice. These are the lawyers who he paid in order to represent him. So not quite sure, like, it's about them believing the truth. More, I hired people to do the job that they were hired to do, of which, in fairness, they've lived up to their side of the bargain there. And he did say he's cut his grass as well. Not a euphemism for him getting caned or something in celebration. So I'm sure him and his dad went out and behaved like two normal men, not up to anything remotely shifty at all, where either of their wives were certainly not around. So, yeah, there you go. There's old Ted DiBiase Jr. just getting in a little bit of grapple law in there as well in the meantime.
Moving on from there?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this. I watched this trailer today. It's very weird. You haven't seen Moana, have you?
Not the original, no. This is the live action version. That's
it is
out, right.
Yeah, this is what Disney do. They did it with Lilo and Stitch. They've done it with How to Train Your Dragon. They've done it with other, the Jungle Book and everything else, and the Lion King. Well, they've released a new trailer for its live action Moana film, which is coming out this summer as well. It's very weird because he looks very old, whereas Maui, who he plays in it, who says "You're welcome," which they managed to fit into a bit of the trailer. He didn't. I know.
That is not a good wig for a 50-something-year-old man. Is he 50-something? I assume he is. He must be 50-something. Fucking hell. Remember when The Rock was cool? Feels like a lot. Remember when he was box office? Like, he was literally box office. He was like the most bankable star in Hollywood. Look how the mighty have fallen. Now it's Ryan Gosling.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's all the CGI that's gone into him on this. You'd want to remove a few wrinkles from the face while you're at it, lads.
The
It's not that
state
hard
of
a
that
job
wig.
to do.
Oh my god!
It looks absolute state of that wig on there as well. It looks like he just decided, like, looks at Stephanie McMahon's hair and thought, I'll have a bit of that. Me, just whack it on here. I mean, I don't know. I will be made to see this in this house. Everyone seems to fucking love Moana. I've watched it more for the novelty about it as well. But that's it. In this house, Dwayne Johnson is a guy who does Disney films. And I think he entered in like a Disney Hall of Fame or something recently, because there's so many Disney films that he's been a part of. I don't have any hope of this being good, but it will make a shitload of money, because all of these adaptations generally make a shitload of money. And Moana is a massive fucking hit. Very, very weird in there.
Older or younger than Gareth? Got to be older than Gareth, right? Is he older?
He's older than Gareth. Gareth's older than me, only by 2 days, but still, it's what counts. He is. Yeah, he's older than him. He's got to be in his, like, I'm going to say 53, 54.
He's 53. He's 53. We're safe. 53. We're safe.
Exactly for that.
Sorry, I'll leave the other stories. We've got a bit long, but I know you wanted to include this. Our other and finally story, JP, of Switzerland. I'll let you take it away. One more story before we get into Dynamite, and I know this was what you wanted to talk about.
Sometimes, in some ways it was a personal thing, having worked for an independent school that closed under somewhat suspicious circumstances. I didn't sign an NDA, so I couldn't give 2 shits for saying about that. Oh, ladies, Abingdon. A former director at a New York-based daycare, which is the job that my partner does, of like childcare and stuff. What she hasn't done with the money that she's got in is decided to buy WWE tickets. Unlike this fella, who's stolen millions of dollars in daycare tuition payments and using partial funds on WWE tickets. So those millions, what was it? He is accused of using at least $350,000. This is Michelle Mishak, a German language daycare, which feels very specific. Kinderhaus Brooklyn in there, which means child's house, which I'm sure you all knew. Sold 2.8 million, but 350,000 on WWE tickets. Probably bought 3 of them in that time, didn't it? And bought deluxe packages for the children to attend events and meet various performers. And it included luxury vacations and food delivery services. She spent all the money with no savings put aside, which is arguably quite impressive in there. She worked in there for 13 years, probably director in 2020, and decided, I'm fucking cashing in big time in there as well. The tuition deposit was being sent to her PayPal account. Fucking hell, Michelle. That's the kind of thing I would do. And then not declare it. That's a whole other conversation. And she'd made 450 fraudulent payments herself over 3+ years, worth 2.8 million. Again, quite impressive. She's pleaded not guilty.
I think a better thing to spend that money on, though. Like, I mean, like you say, I don't know how many WWE shows that buys you. Not many, but what do the kids think? It was like, oh, my mum's dead cool. She seems to be able to meet all the wrestlers, and we get to go to the shows, and we're treated like royalty all the time. Like, presumably there was going to be red flags there. I mean, we're living in a world where apparently they're going to be looking into people's bank accounts to see if you pay for dodgy TV boxes. Apparently, in the UK. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that. Like, are they going to be literally looking through people's bank transfers? Did you send like something to 20 quid to Blu-ray once a month? Is it going to give away what people are doing? I mean, I guess this is a bit more obvious than that. Like, yeah, what did you spend? How did you end up spending $150,000 per show on WWE? Where did that money come from? Like, feel like the book was going to be up at some point.
Exactly, and if she liked wrestling that much, she just not bought House of Glory and gone the fucking whole hog and have that tied in with the daycare as well. I just have the kids
book Pro. There you go. That's for sale, isn't it?
There it is. Yeah, exactly. Do that. Have the kids book it as part of some weird sort of integrated curriculum style thing. Obviously, all in German to fit in with the German daycare theme as well. It'd be weird, but it wouldn't be any weirder than this. Like, that is an 350,000, and it's like, if you think about, I'm there thinking, I reckon that's probably got her access to like 3 separate events, none of which are probably pay-per-views, if I can remember rightly. When's the last time they're on the Barclays Centre for a pay-per-view? It's not. It'd be some fucking glorified house show or an episode of Raw. Imagine if you're a German-speaking 8-year-old and all of a sudden you're like just taken to the Barclays Centre to watch fucking, I don't know, Finn Balor and have a shoot an angle with fucking Dominic Mysterio. Where is this money going? Explaining it to the parents who are signing like disclaimers and stuff. What the fuck is going on there? And yeah, incredible stuff. And again, he'll get away with it like Ted did, didn't she?
There you go.
At least she'll
get punished and Ted will get away with it. It's all about the connections, mate, and what you do with them. But anywho, that's the end of the news. Sorry, we took the long route to get to the Dynamite review this week. If you're listening for the first time on the free feed, it's usually weekend show. We get here a little bit quicker, but we got a lot to catch up on, JP, and a lot of news has happened in the last week. But it does take us in to the TV wrestling. Obviously, we've got some of the TV wrestling to talk about, some previews to get into. But we will, as always, start with a bit of Dynamite. And feels a bit like one of those Garrett shows. I say, so how have you found it last while? How's your AEW catch up, Ben? I don't know where to start with the AEW product at this point, JP. I don't know. What's your thoughts been coming out of the pay-per-view, and what's your thoughts on it? Obviously, last week's Dynamite wasn't particularly well received, and not by us on this show. But did you see this week's as an improvement and everything in between?
It certainly was an improvement from last week. I think in terms of this particular week, it was like a solid scene setter for, and I know we get into the dynasty debate, don't we? I'll say dynasty, the AEW dynasty. And it felt like a solid build to that show. Like something, what helped was kind of an arena like this, like the one behind me, the old Roy Wilkins Auditorium there as well, which, did effectively a kind of like a sellout there in the meantime. I thought, going to the nuts and bolts of it, it did this wise move by having Kenny Swerve on at the beginning. Obviously, towards the end, there were bits of it kind of tailed away, but that's the nature of Dynamite. It's never going to be this kind of perfect TV program. But I enjoyed it. And much in the same way that the AEW I've seen, I've liked generally the direction because for the most part I think most of the divisions have had somewhat of an upgrade. If you think of the world title scene, it's a lot more vibrant. There's a lot more sort of figures like your upper mid-carders, your Andrades and Brody Kings kind of getting somewhat into the mix, being like interesting characters to kind of throw into the mix as well. I think the tag team division seems to have a real like shot in the arm recently, as much as I don't like Cage and Cope. I can get the reasons for why bringing them into the mix. And there was a part of me thought as well, wouldn't it be interesting to have a Swerve and Hangman team at some sort of stage kind of come in and like dominate it? But anyway, I won't digress with too much in there as well. The women's division is the one that's the issue, but that's not the fault of the champion. The wise move was putting the belt on Thekla, and I think I like her. Yeah, exactly. It had to be moved away from Chris Statlander. Whatever's going on with Tony Storm, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say what I think that it is.
Probably best we don't. I don't think.
I think
everyone can work it out. Everyone can read between the lines if it is what we all think it is. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if there is a long protracted absence in the meantime, like if she is a placeholder, effectively to get to Mercedes Moné at Wembley, and she manages to kind of like slay the white whale, then I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that. If she's a placeholder at this point in time, she's like a good placeholder and she adds a bit of interest. And her Mina Shirakawa was kind of like, it was fine without ever being kind of like great in there. So I've kind of felt like even like some of the like, your feuds around like the Continental title, which I'm still so confused about what's happening with that. All of that feels like it's a quiet upgrade, and I don't know what stock we have in ratings these days. And mentioned it earlier on. I think the ratings and the attendances have kind of borne that out for the most part. That this feels like they have kind of solidified it, and for the most part, the TV is of a really solid nature with some solid figures around the place and some decent booking.
Yeah, I broadly agree. Like, especially like if you take like a bird's eye view, look at it like a much improved product overall. I said to Gareth, in the build to Revolution, weirdly, it was like I enjoyed every week's TV on its own merits, but then when it came to the pay-per-view, I'm not sure that actually the TV did the job it was there to do, which was make me interested in the matches that took place at the pay-per-view. But then the pay-per-view was still good. I didn't think it was great like a lot of people did, but it was still good. almost feel like that pattern's kind of continued, and I think we are in a, I think I heard Joe Lanza say it, like, dynasty is sooner than you think. We are like hurtling towards that as a pay-per-view because of WrestleMania. I'm assuming is the reason why it's 2 weeks away, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Like, it's not far at all in the future. So they've had to hit fast forward on getting you into these programs. But yeah, I suppose what's different about this, like, I didn't enjoy last week's show, and this week's show I'm more mixed on, to be honest, than yourself. Like I thought it was a bad week for Kenny Omega, and like I'm somebody who. I would have backed the horse, which was do a Kenny Omega World Title program. Like we've outright said it on this show, and I still think it's the right decision because like big time Kenny Omega matches is what this company has kind of missed over the years and have missed with Kenny for various reasons. Some from health reasons and some through some incompetence as far as the use of Kenny over time. But like Kenny and World Title programs is exactly what I've wished for. I just didn't enjoy any of it this week, to be honest. I thought the swear match was pretty good. Very convenient, as a way to get Kenny into the position. But again, maybe that speaks to the rush that we're in, heading towards the pay-per-view. Not a patch on the first match, but it was a different type of match. They weren't necessarily going for what they went there. Obviously, it didn't have the big post-match angle like the first one did. It was just a functional babyface versus heel match to kick off Dynamite, but nothing spectacular for me, and that's usually what you can rely on Kenny for. And again, maybe that was placement, putting it on first or stuff like that. But I think that the fact that we are rushing towards the pay-per-view kind of gave us a weird week of TV, especially for Kenny. Like, he was doing 27 different things. It felt like we had that match. Then we had the MJF promo battle, which was terrible, like objectively terrible. Like MJF had a bad day. Kenny Omega doesn't have many great days. This wasn't a good day. This wasn't an okay day for Kenny. I thought he was bad there. And I thought the awkward segment with Speedball was strange as well. Meanwhile, MJF's like off in a little side universe with Darby Allin as well. It's like, it's just not, maybe it's just not the best executed version of what was good about the weeks of TV leading to Revolution, which to me felt like everyone's after MJF and there's a few irons on the fire and it feels like there's a lot happening. Still feels that way, but maybe it was just the execution this week was off for me. Like they just didn't nail it. And yeah, Kenny Omega in-ring promos he's one of those guys who, like, I've gotten in trouble for it before for things I've said on podcast, JP, about Kenny Omega not being massively suited to American TV wrestling. And whenever I say that, I never mean the matches. I didn't think this week's match was great, but he can give you all-time great American TV matches. That's never what I mean. It's always the character stuff, and I think even by his standards, this was weak stuff this week, and maybe less interested in a match that I would, if I was in the room, I would have been arguing for only a few weeks ago.
You see, I wonder whether or not it's because I haven't seen every episode of Dynamite, which is kind of incredible to think that between us, certainly, like, we have seen, think of how many years we've been watching AEW for and pretty much watching Dynamite every single week. For those, it's scary. If you work out it's just like episode 388. And I'm guessing we have certainly seen, like, I know for me, probably somewhere in the region of 370 of those. like a hell of a lot of those on there. So there was a part of me where I'm probably a bit more forgiving. I looked at the Kenny Swerve match as it was a starry, good TV match and kind of like nothing more. It wasn't wrestled like it was like a pay-per-view match or anything else. And there was far too many kind of like false finishes near the end. Like that was a bit of overkill. But I was fine just because it feels like, and maybe I'm wrong on
more.
But okay. Yeah. It almost feels like the direction of travel is, obviously Kenny beats MJF, wins the title. They do him and Swerve 3, a double or nothing, and that's the balls to the wall match. Ospreay wins the Owen, and then we get Ospreay versus Kenny at All In, and that's where we get to, and that's the big sort of like crowning moment there as well. And I have generally, like, I always think of one of our earliest complaints for the first like 4 years of AEW was they had all these kind of stars and they never interacted with each other. They never had these kind of like matches, and now we're getting them thick and fast. And maybe there's an element of overkill with that, but in some ways, I'm kind of happier about.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing it.
That those things are happening.
I'm glad they're happening. It's just the execution has to be good, and it wasn't. Like MJF, like going doing sing song with MJF and just cycling through his own catchphrases. Like I say, Kenny just making really bad jokes and just being a bit of a nerd, which is Kenny, but like there's better ways to harness Kenny than like just leaving him out there doing this. I mean, I should be glad at least he was wearing his wrestling gear, even if he was making weird jokes about smelling and stuff like that. He never looks great when he comes out in like some gaming t-shirt and a crap pair of jeans you wouldn't be so dead wearing since the 2010s. Like, I don't know. Like, it just
money he's on, he can afford some decent jeans, can't he? Bootcut jeans is what he's wearing, isn't he? He's dressing like that Man United squad walking through Manchester in like the fucking like early 2000s.
But it's funny because I think MJF is getting the lion's share of the criticism, I think, in circles, especially, like I say, our community. But I think Kenny was, maybe it was just that, for MJF, this was a bad week. For Kenny, this was a really bad week for me. But like, I think maybe people are more forgiving of that when it's Kenny rather than MJF, who, like I say, it depends week on week whether we're hot or cold on him in our little well. But it was a cold week, so I do get it. I just think Kenny hasn't gotten enough grief this week.
Like you say, it's never been his forte in terms of those promos. It was what was his forte? Best bout machine. This was the guy who had the best match of the night, had an in-ring charisma. That's where it was. It wasn't a promo charisma. The promos were always like, frankly, just always weird in terms of delivery. It was so OTT,
especially this week.
Else. Yeah,
it's almost like I wouldn't put him in the position. I think I just found another way to sell the match. Like, I mean, maybe that's just US TV wrestling. Like, that feels very MJF. You have to do this. We have to have a promo battle. Do you? Like, do you? No. Like, real question, do you? Could you not find another way to get to the point that you want to get to? Kenny thought he wrestled on the show. Did we need an in-ring trading, battles on the microphone segment? Probably didn't.
And if anything, are they doing a contract signing for next week?
Yeah,
is that like the big?
Yeah,
that's because, and that's the kind of stuff that it's like, okay, all right, and you're doing that because it's Winnipeg, so you're going to have that sort of like that natural, like you're going to have that massive hometown kind of audience for Kenny, but that's going to be the same sort of by the numbers thing. If he'd won this match, I just would have been happier if he'd got on the mic and literally said MJF Dynasty, me and you. And then just did his signature sign-off line, dropped the mic, and then that would have been it. Didn't need him to come out again. Didn't even really need MJF on TV. Not as kind of like a like doing the promo stuff. And it's that shtick. And I think it's the problem of when he's world champion. It feels like this is in his mind. This is what world champions do. They come out and they deliver in-ring promos on TV. My hope is that in a couple of weeks' time, he won't be world champion, so it won't be something that we'll have to necessarily worry too much about.
But then why are they doing the Derby stuff at the same time? That's coming to a head at some point. I don't know. They tried to tease it that Kenny's got his own little side issue with Speedball, obviously, which I never want to see them two talking on camera together ever again. But yeah, maybe it's a red herring. Maybe that's
do it in French. Wait till you're in Quebec. Do it in French. It'd probably go down a Speedball. You'd imagine be better because that's where he is. He's a francophone. But yeah, that kind of weird, the side universe stuff in as a concept, as a theory, I'm always quite happy with. Like I like the idea that you should be a marked man. That all these people want your spot. That's the bigger overriding story of any wrestling company. Who's going to be at the top of the tree? Yeah, and that is the thing that they've generally got right. But it also doesn't need to be overkill. It can be things like subtle glances. I want to, you bring it back to like even, was it early Ring of Honor? They would do that, wouldn't they? When they were, what was the Christopher Daniels stable and stuff? When it was in Xavier did that, and they did little looks to each other backstage, and then all of a sudden there was there's things like that you can do. It doesn't need to be so OTT and frankly so WWE. It's like build up the stuff that don't ignore the stuff that they're doing. Look at that product. It's fucking cold. And then like think, they're the stuff we won't do. But hey ho. I was a bit more forgiving this week.
Speaking of Derby, obviously the Rush main event, that stop by that spot on the stairs into the guardrail was fucking shocking. Obviously, again, MJF verse. We're doing some kind of Callis family story here. Obviously, Andrade being teased as turning a babyface in the background and all. We've also got elsewhere in the show, obviously, the Fletcher Takeshita segment going on as well. Where do you think all this is leading, and what do you think of the main event of Dynamite this week?
I mean, it's really bemusing that this would be the main event of a Dynamite. We just suggested that if they're expecting a rating pattern for this, that it's going to go down at the end of the show, so you might as well just have Darby Allin Rush in there. Why you wouldn't have Tekla defending her title as being a main event, I didn't quite know. Roosh being kind of weirdly like out of mothballs. Is he around? Is he not around? It's like kind of like a strange beast, and it feels like this is the year that they're going to really do something with Darby Allin. I kind of thought to myself, all right, if you're thinking about like where you're going to for like in the next few months, that him and MJF after he loses the title feels like that's a kind of like natural storyline that they can both kind of like throw themselves into. Not particularly excited, if I'm honest with you. I don't think I've ever been the biggest Darby Allin guy. I thought the match itself, like you say,
they clearly have been trying to heat him up, haven't they? Like, even going to the pay-per-view now, it makes sense why the Dogs had to lose in their first pay-per-view match, because we're heating up Darby again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God knows what they're doing with the Dogs. Like that was the weirdest bit of, like, that was an odd bit of booking on there as well, particularly as having had them lose at Revolution as well. And it just feels like they've signed them just
getting that win back. I felt like this week.
Yeah, exactly. And then just going, oh, Roderick Strong's joined the conglomeration. It's like, okay.
3 heels celebrating.
Yeah.
Collision this week. Christ.
Yeah, very, very weird kind of setup for that. But yeah, Darby Allin, I just kind of wasn't particularly excited by it, if I'm honest with you. It just felt like it was kind of very much like placeholder stuff. And that's how I felt kind of watching the show. Just the further on it went, I was like, yeah, but it wasn't bad. I've seen a lot fucking compared to
Bruce trying to kill Darby is always going to be money for me. You know, very much slip on a banana field type of win for Darby. But, you know, best use of it of both. I'm just not so sure on, like I said, the Callis family conspiracy with MJF doesn't interest me hugely. But again, world building. We'll see where it all lands. Mox Ospreay, the other big note from Dynamite this week, obviously set for Dynasty now, is official. So we had an Ospreay promo, we had a Mox promo, post your obligatory Death Riders tag. I enjoyed the Death Riders tags on Collision this weekend more than I necessarily enjoyed this one on Dynamite, but didn't outstay its welcome. But Mox and Ospreay obviously is business they almost have to get to now. I think maybe it was me and you on the show at the time when they took Ospreay out, where it was like, oh right, okay, we're setting up at a Mox angle for when, you know, whenever Ospreay's back, when we won't know what you wailed the both in. Like, I still don't love it, but at least, you know, if you are going to go that route of doing that type of write-off angle, fair play. They're paying it off, and we're getting it out the way, and then hopefully we can move on for everybody. And I've said it 47 times now. Death Riders are going to end after this match. There'll be some kind of angle. They probably won't, but Ospreay and Mox will end at least at Dynasty. What do you make of their promos and what they had on Dynamite this week?
I didn't think the Ospreay promo was great, if I'm honest. It felt, do you know what? It felt very functional in the sense of they're going to be having this match there. They thought they should have a promo battle. I can see a world where at the end of the match, there's like a respect thing that kind of comes out of it as well. And you know, Ospreay bringing up all the stuff about the son, who is very much being like, whether he likes it or not, he's being integrated into these storylines, like, which is, I don't know, always doing it for a 7-year-old is always kind of like a slightly strange place to be. The Death Riders match was far too long. I always look at the little things.
I didn't hate it this week, but yeah, I don't necessarily look forward to them.
It was one of the. I thought Zayda Steel was okay, but I mean, I've been loving Marina Shafir, even though like there are these like fundamental. There are things she's never going to be great at as a character. I just find that when she comes out and everything else, she's just like incredibly transfixing. I even find that weird circle thing they do with her and Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta just sort of spreading. I was like, okay, and they do that, and Moxley never takes part in any of that stuff. I was like, okay. It was functional. It was like, okay, we need to tie up this loose end. We've got a couple of pay-per-views before we get to the really big one, so we might as well get this out of the way now. And it adds, and this is the other thing that AEW has gotten better at, is just having top-tier main event talent take each other on in the upper mid-card of pay-per-views. And I'm fine with that. And, you know, they did it with Moxley and Takeshita. They're doing it here with Ospreay and Moxley. It's just that, I suppose, in my mind, if I'm thinking what they're going to possibly do with Ospreay, then it kind of makes sense for Moxley to retain his title, which then doesn't make sense for the Death Riders to turn on him. Is it non-title? All right, then Ospreay's winning. Then Ospreay's winning, and then maybe that's
Mox gets to continue to be champion. But I think it's the Dan. Like I say, I'm on board with like big time wrestlers wrestling each other. it's just the weird dynamics of it all. Like Moxley kind of being in the heel stable and Ospreay going for revenge against the heel stable, but it's a babyface ostensibly he's meeting. Maybe they'll make it make sense in the moment. Maybe it turns into something where there's grudge and mutual respect with Moxley and Ospreay or something come out of it. Similar to obviously some of the themes like you mentioned he had in his promo. But I'm just glad it's going to, like I say, this dynasty view sooner rather than later. So I think it'll be better for them both to be on different paths following this. Yeah, any
like
thoughts on that
or
the highlights?
Yeah, we'll like it at the time when that happens on there as well. I mean, in terms of the other highlights on there, I mean, a lot of it is like
a lot of promos this week.
Yeah,
not good ones either. I thought like Cope and Christian's was not great. FTR obviously coming out afterwards was a bit weird. It was all just a bit odd this week. And I'm all for Dynamite having more promos, but again, they need to be good too. You know, that's the other part of it.
Yeah. And then while setting up stuff with the conglomeration, and that's when it's the overkill of it's an integrated world and all of these factions have to integrate with each other. It's like, it doesn't all have to be on 1 week of TV. Like you can like sort of weirdly space stuff out in there. The dogs, in some ways, I just think they signed them. I mean, if the stories on David Finlay are necessary to be believed, it was kind of more or less they signed him because he was more or less being rejected. Like he wasn't going to get any more money in New Japan. He didn't want to be in Japan anymore in the US, and WWE weren't going to pay him what he felt he was worth. So he just goes
put him in a jobber stable. So he comes into this jobber stable instead. But you know, a jobber stable he knows.
And he's in there as I mean, I like Clark Connors. I kind of like the look and everything else about him, and I think he's just like a better wrestling fit for AEW as much as anything. But it's very weird. Like they should be dominating the trios division. That would be one of the things that you would just put the belts on them and hope they do something. But then, yeah, it's a really, really weird one.
It seems surplus to requirements, really. Like I'm not sure if it was thought through when they were signed.
Well, I'm saying it's a surplus. More, they've let some people go, and they wanted to kind of beef up a bit of the undercard, and they're not the most expensive kind of gets, if that makes any sense. And I think there was the thing about bringing down the age profile, maybe. So getting some of these guys in kind of tick some of those boxes in the way that getting Kevin Knight in and stuff. Like a lot of them are more like projects than anything else. Although I'm not convinced.
Spoken like Mikel Arteta.
I am exactly in there. Oh God, no! I'll be talking about fucking all
squad ratio.
He's terrible. He sounds suspiciously linked in at points. Oh God, don't. No, well, he got it wrong last weekend for his. He said, "Let's hope Tony doesn't have the same sense of loyalty about pushing people like he did playing."
Just to respect the ring. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Respect the ring. In terms, I'll mention about
any other thoughts?
I wouldn't say necessarily like massively hot takes. I mean, obviously the Ricochet is in that kind of like slight holding pattern. Is it him and Kenny that's next week as well? That they're sort of throwing in, which is again, it's
Ospreay Pac next week on Dynamite.
TV match. Ospreay Pac as well, which should be good. And this is the thing that they have the potential to do, is be able to at least book 2 to 3 really good in-ring matches. The Fletcher Takeshita thing, obviously with Okada, at some point they need to fucking pull the trigger on some of this stuff. It's like you said about the Death Riders. I almost want them to pull the trigger on just like Takeshita not being in the Don Callis family and deciding to kind of like really go with him as like a proper top guy going for the world title. But then Fletcher was talking about like going for the world title as well. So all of that stuff I found, like I say, not great promos. I didn't find it like particularly offensive, and it did the job of getting us to a pay-per-view, which at nearer the time I'll become very, very excited for, because I just like the direction of what they're doing for this particular show.
Just want a better week next week from Kenny and MJF, but like I said, I guess we've got to do our WWE style contract sign, which again probably doesn't feel like the best use of Kenny, but maybe a lot of better material. Maybe Max won't just spinning his wheels in the ring, and maybe Kenny will remember, as Simon says in the chat, it was him himself that called him a wrestling god, and not the fans. But anywho, and himself also earlier in that promo. But maybe he'll have a better week next week. But yeah, that's obviously everything Dynamite. But moving on from there, Collision coming up this weekend as well. JP from your old haunt, the Alliance Energy Powerhouse.
Get me, honestly, it's like a home from home, the Alien Energy Powerhouse in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I don't know what.
I know we got a petrol shortage, but like, what's going on? Like, is it like a uranium producing center, or is it actually a place where wrestling can take place? Odd.
If he found out that he was actually that the Iranian government was developing nuclear weapons, they were just doing it in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and are hiding in plain sight by sponsoring the local arena. Then who can see that being the case? Yeah, Collision, whose ratings are, dare I say it, they're like not far off on the reg NXT level ratings, which is a kind of crazy thing. Again, I'm not sure how much stock I hold in this, because I know the Slam Dunk viewership did 616,000 on the day 2 there,
again,
as well.
Great lead in, obviously.
Oh yeah.
What they delivered maybe wasn't worthy that way lead in, but anyhow.
Exactly, and 470,000 on the Saturday. But this is what's going on this weekend for it. We have Ace Austin versus Tommaso Ciampa, Kazuchika Okada versus Kevin Knight for the International Championship, and Megan Bayne and Lena Cross versus Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron in a rematch for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships. So that's what's going on there for Collision.
We'll cover ROH in a minute, as there's a supposed big ROH show coming up this weekend. So I'll move over to SmackDown, obviously taking place this Friday. Again, on the ratings front, annoyingly hitting a 6-week high, 1.439 million viewers. Obviously, last week 436,000.32 in the demo. I missed the days, JP, when they were barely hitting 1 million. I missed the old metrics. I feel like they need to go back to that, but we'll hopefully get them in the mud eventually. How many more of these 3-hour SmackDowns can even the sickos sit through, especially with cards like what we've got coming up this week, which is Kit Wilson versus Joey Roll / Jam Donuts. We have WWE Women's United States title, Julia versus Tiffany Stratton, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair against the Bella Twins. Hopefully an improvement from last week. Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre is on the show. And again, amongst rumors that possibly they're heading towards a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. And apparently Randy Orton's going to be there, and maybe we'll find out who he's been on the phone to. Is it his dad? Is it Ted Jr.? Is it Manu? One of the three is probably my guess.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it. 3 hours of that stuff, and we can't even blame Road Dogg anymore, can we? We're all going to kick off at Ryan Ward. I'm assuming he's head right. Is he head right over there? Is it?
He's still right. He's in the room. Yeah.
He is. I remember his talk radio show he used to do. They used to come up with some pretty offensive things. And then the fella he presented it with, he got done for drink driving as well.
Let's get him cancelled. Sorted. Do it.
Yeah, exactly. He was Ryan Ward. Yeah, he did it for years. And it's so weird seeing him there. But yeah, there you go. But if you're looking for some real action, I did watch some of this today. I don't know. You
told me this earlier in the week. You're like, I'm coming back to the weekend show fire, and I'm going to watch Raw, I'm going to watch Impact, and I'm going to watch Dynamite. I was like, oh my God, JP.
Yeah.
You sure about this?
And very quickly I made the decision of, or I'll watch some of the YouTube highlights, because that is the only way to take some of this stuff on board. Instead, this was a pre-tape show from the Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. We had Mustafa Ali over BDE, Jeff Hardy over Brian Myers, Moose over Bear Bronson, being supported by some ex-Atlanta Falcons, who he played for as well, who stopped the rest of the system getting involved. Tessa Blanchard, Mila Moore, and Victoria Crawford over Harley Hudson, Liverpool's finest, Nyla Grace, and Jodie Threat. Eric Young over Brad Attitude. Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander defeating Mike Santana and Leon Slater, because they had this whole deal that Steve Macklin couldn't physically touch Mike Santana, so he attacked Leon Slater instead, and he kind of distracted Leon Slater, and then Eddie Edwards did his running knee, which he calls the Boston Knee Party, to get the pin on old Mike there as well. Not the big news. Buff Bagwell teased one more match, got interrupted, and he's had a leg amputated. He was speaking, he was saying about this as well. He was saying about his life's been pretty bad. Some of that's inflicted, old Marcus, you know. But anyway, he self-inflicted, I should say. He did it. He appeared to tease one more match, which I would genuinely be intrigued by how that's going to work. Frankie Kazarian came out, and then Elijah came out, and Frankie Kazarian just pissed off. So it seems
they'll do it as well, won't they?
Yeah.
Like, and I saw this headline, I was like, really, on Impact last night, Buff Bagwell, and then I watched the clip, and he's on the stage and stuff like that. I'd forgotten, though, that he'd had his leg amputated, because at first I was like, you know what? He's someone who obviously WWE are not going to bring him back. Obviously AEW, it's never going to work. But it was like, if he wanted a one last match, if I was TNA, would I actually say no? I'd probably go, go on then, we'll do it. Fuck it, it'll fill 15 minutes on an Impact or 15 minutes on an Impact Plus pay-per-view or something like that. But I'd forgotten, obviously, like having the leg amputated. But I guess that maybe it makes it a nicer story. I'm sure he could work some kind of tag, couldn't he? He gets the hot tag. Yeah. I can't imagine he does the buff buster, but we've seen wrestlers in similar health do similar matches. So yeah, maybe they could do something. But it's very TNA also.
Oh yeah, Frankie Kazarian bumping and feeding for him. That's basically it. That's all it needs to be. Doesn't need to be anything else in there as well. Not the big news as well on that, because there was a Decaya reforming. Crazy Blind Steve, he was back in the house, and some backstage. I think they were trying to say they were an alternative. Along with Ali, the bunny from AEW, who was there as well. I was like, right, okay, she's knocking around the place. Yeah, and Rosemary doing the same old face-painted, vaguely supernatural gobbledygook bullshit. So yeah, they're reforming. And that is TNA Impact.
Takes us in nicely to our
every week.
Our birthday, big preview of the week. Obviously, Sacrifice taking place. I say obviously. I'm sure we all knew. Taking place tonight, in fact. It's a Friday night one on TNA Plus. Ryan Nemeth versus the BDE. Not Braden and Davey. I always make that joke. Tessa Blanchard versus Jody Threat. Elijah and Hometown Man. I'm not going into that. Versus Frankie Kazarian and AJ Francis. Trey Miguel and Jay the Stone versus Mustafa Ali and Tasha Steelz. Moose versus Eddie Edwards. Apparently not in Benidorm with Fludder. Jeff Hardy and Vincent versus Cedric Alexander and Brian Myers. Mara Sade Mane versus Alana Black. Leon Slater versus Eric Young. Ariana Grace versus Danny Luna and Mike Santana versus Steve Macklin in your TNA World Title match. Any of that float your boat, JP? Did you get any more excited for it? Getting back into the wild world of Impact Wrestling this week?
Not really, although I'm happy that Steve Macklin is at least on top of that, as he should be, with all the that's the kind of role he should have in TNA. Like, there's nowhere really for him to go. So him ending up there, I'm fine with that as well. And then one thing I would say, Moose would have finished that breakfast challenge that Stephen Fowler didn't manage to finish in
Stephen for wrestling.
I love it. Like you have said before, his Facebook feed is the gift that will never stop giving. Like as well, and I thought Fludder would have nailed that, and he should have done what those lads do, which is use the bread and that kind of potato-based food to soak up all of the beans and the tomatoes, and then he's a clear run after that. I've watched too many of those.
You could have helped Mickey Hamflet out. Did you see him on What Culture last week on Monday doing the 100 Nuggets challenge? He hit 70 in at a wall, unfortunately, but still, 70 is impressive. It was that or Review SmackDown, which I guess he actually did both technically at once, but I'd rather have the Nuggets than SmackDown. I feel like I could do 100, but I know Michael did as well. So
was there a time limit?
It was just the SmackDown review, so they were reviewing 3 hours of SmackDown. So however long it took them to review SmackDown was how long you had to eat the Nuggets. So 70 is very, 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 very good going, and obviously for a good cause as well. They were taking donations, so very well done to our Michael.
They were indeed. Good week for him, particularly with Sunderland getting that last-minute winner against Newcastle as well. I'd imagine there would have been a frosty tension in the room between the What Culture lads.
Usually is, but it's to do with wrestling and not football. All of them.
I don't know. They sneak in a lot of football shirts in there as well. But something they haven't reviewed, sadly, was Ring of Honor. That was
what a pro.
There he is. We had Persephone defending her CMLL Women's World Championship match. She's got one of those dual deals. Every fucker has one these days. Defeating Lacey Lane. Sky Flight defeated Isla Dawn and the Grizzled Young Veterans. By Christ, how far they've fallen. Myron Reed defeated Mansoor. TMDK of Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols defeated Better Together of Haydar Horwitz and Ori Gold. And for the Women's Pure Championship, a belt that's very close to your heart, Proving Ground match, of course, Deonna Pratso defeated Robin Renegade. Anthony Ogogo, remember him?
I do. He was in the news this week. Apparently, he was going to be. He was told he was going to be a Blackpool Combat Club. That's a universe we could have lived in. Fucking hell.
What? Because he's been to Blackpool. He's one of the few members of that place who would have actually visited.
I question even that, to be honest. Yeah.
I'd have asked him why. Like, you're not having an amateur fight there, mate. But he was there with the infantry. Carly Bravo and Sean Dean defeated Nick Comorotto. Remember him? Big hairy bloke.
Still around.
He would have made a better Maui, Nick Comoroto, for the Moana live action remake. But anyway, there you go. Red Velvet defended her women's TV championship against Trish Adora. XO and Adora attacked Velvet after the match. This is Christian XO, whoever he is. And then Zeta Steele made the save. And then the main event for the Women's World Championship, Athena defeated Maya World. And by all accounts, they jazzed up the set of the TV studio that they're in for their for the sort of TV studio wrestling thing that they're doing at the minute. Good luck to them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, obviously, big ROH show coming up this weekend, Global Wars, with Maple Leaf Pro in Windsor, Ontario. Actually, is one of the biggest shows of the weekend.
Yeah.
6-way scramble on it. You don't need to know about that. Eddie Kingston, remember him? And Ortiz against Adam Priest and Tommy Billington is on that show. Ricochet Rich Swann is on the show. Red Velvet versus Alice Crowley. Deonna Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw is on the show. Rohan Raja versus Stu Grayson. And Athena versus Taylor Rising. So a few multi-person matches as well. Hey. Apparently, they got a show on the Sunday as well, JP?
They do. Well, on the Saturday. Yeah, and it's some combination of the lads. But there's one match you've missed out of there. The tag team 4-way match. Have a listen to these teams. Bishop Dyer, Baron Corbin, and Kaito Kiyomiya versus the Good Brothers versus Gates of Agony versus whoever Bryce Hansen and Mo Jabari are. But just for that Baron Corbin and Kaito Kiyomiya tag team, fuck it.
I saw a lot of names and thought, I can't be arsed reading that. I can't believe that's worth watching just for that, isn't it? How'd you watch it? Is it on Triller, if it's still running? If Triller is still running tonight, everybody watch it on Triller. Fucking hell. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's 2026 wrestling for you. Also taking place this weekend, CMLL, the Martes de Arena, Mexico. Arsenal? Is this in Arsenal, Mexico?
That's auto fucking correct. Changing arena to Arsenal, which shows you where my phone's been at recently.
That's the normal Arena Mexico show. That makes more sense. Magia Blanca versus Captain Suicide on the show. Flip Gordon, remember him? Versus Volador Jr. Averno versus Atlantis Jr. And Mascara Dorada versus Yutani. And apparently, there's something called SCX Circle City also taking place. Oh, the Squared Circle.
Mate, some Expo stuff on there.
Also taking place in. I'll let you take it away. I didn't see this one. What the fuck is this?
Oh, this is it's obviously a wrestling expo one on here. So you've got who is it? Eddie Kingston and Ortiz versus Dalton McKenzie and Lord Crew, which I read as Lord Crewy. Who's obviously one of Matty's best mates, lovely fella as well, but he's not taking on the team of Eddie Kingston and Ortiz, sadly. For the tag team titles, the newest Rockers, Al Snow and Cal Hero versus Aaron Stevens and Carson Drake versus Sent to Slaughter, Danny Maff, remember him, and Sean Donovan versus Ill-Begotten, Alex Taylor and Jeremiah Plunkett. There, you've got Jake Oman versus Bandido for the main title, Killer Cross versus Ben Bishop, Matt Riddle versus Jack Vaughan, a primetime 5-way match with Brian Myers, Taka Michinoku, Crazy Steve, Prima Donnie, and Ryan Ledson in there as well. I don't know if that name rings any bells, Ryan Ledson.
Nope.
Former Everton youth player who went to Preston. Not a real person who's taking part in this match. He was at Oxford for a while. Decent central midfielder. Yeah, he was.
Don't recognise the name
of the John Lundstrom school of I'm leaving here as a young fella, but he was all right, Ryan Ledson.
Oh, I'm more the Barry Grant kind of guy, but anyway. Yeah. Tony Grant, sorry. Barry Grant was in there, Brookie.
I was about to say, always a Barry Grant man. There is a very slow weekend in Japan. I'll say this much. You've got Tokyo Joshi Pro Grand Princess 26 from Ryogoku Kokugikan, all on Wrestle Universe. What's on there? Mia Watanabe defending her Princess of Princess Championship against Yuka Arai. You've got, for the tag team titles, Yuka Kamifuki and Wakana Yuhara against the Inspiration or the Iconics, whatever their fucking name is this week. Konosuke Takeshita and Yuka Sakazaki in a Mr. and Mrs. match up against Hyper Missile and Super Sasadango Machine. I don't know if the other two people are married or even know each other, but they're apparently having a match against them as well. I hope to God this is on YouTube because it's MCW time. Aussie Graps is back, baby, from the Thornbury Theatre. And Thornbury, Victoria. Love it. Great place. And what's on there as well? Well, that's being headlined by JJ Furno, Nate Hunter, and Magnus, not the fella who's on in TNA and is now general manager on Raw or SmackDown, whichever one it is. Edward Dusk versus Lucky O'Leary. Adam Brooks and Jarvis versus Duke Hanson and Robbie Thorpe. Outside of that, the usual lads who will all appear in there as well. And there is some wrestling from China if you want to go into that. I don't know if you really can be bothered. Ho Ho Lun's involved. Sorry, I've just stolen
maybe go
from you.
From Chengdu, I could get a cheap flight out to that. What have you got here? Big Sam versus Zhao Junji. Zombie Dragon versus Moriarty.
That's Allardyce.
I'm hoping there's a couple of teams I could do with him this season, mate. But Ho Ho Lumpy Jason.
Looking at you, Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, bloody hell. That's taken place. Apparently from Europe. Primetime Wrestling Rule, JP?
Yes. So we have here more Monet, more problems. She's on that Dropping Belts tour. And so this is in Kozlo, Oberschließen, Poland. We've got Spartan versus Nano Lopez, who sounds like someone who plays for Villarreal and possibly getting a bigger move to Newcastle somewhere in the summer. But instead, he's challenging for the PTW title this weekend. And it's Mercedes Moné versus Diana Strong, as opposed to Diana Week, who she beat last time, for the women's title, where she will do the job. Fair fucks to her as well. Everyone seems happy with this arrangement. Brilliant stuff.
Amazing stuff. Well, speaking of names that are made up, get a load of this lot, JP. Something called Progress Wrestling apparently is running from London this weekend, from the Electric Ballroom. 29th of March, Sunday afternoon show. Kid Like Us 2 versus Cougar on the show. Charlie Sterling versus Spike Trevay. Holly Barlow versus Emerson Jane. Diamond Eyes versus Young Guns versus Team Naughty. No, I won't tell you who's in that. Frederick Easton, Harry Boatman. Apparently, there you got it. G Money in an Atlas title match. Carrie Nora versus Charles Crowley. Man Like the Reese versus Kid Like Us. And Alexis Falcon versus Mercedes Martinez.
Did you not get the joke for Team Naughty there?
Frederick Easton, Harry Boatman.
Well, what's the opposite of East?
West.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Harry, what's another word for a boat?
Ship.
Yeah, there we go. Fred West and Harry Shipman. Old Harold himself. Sorry, I've learned nothing in my absence from here other than stick this stupid.
At least it's not AI. I'll take that. Small mercies. Fucking JP's back, everyone. The last taking place as well. Got me well and good. What else are you up to this weekend, JP? Welcome back to the weekend, sure.
Oh, exactly. Delighted to be back. Absolutely loved it, mate. It's been brilliant. I've loved doing this, even if I have dragged this well beyond what it should have been.
No, it's still good. Still on the 2 hour point. That's about right.
Yeah, I'm fine. Good for that. We planned a little 2 hours.
Good volume. A lot of stuff.
And what am I up to this weekend? Well, no football. Which is probably a blessing in disguise. I won't be watching England versus Uruguay in a meaningless friendly tonight. I might have a bet on it, but it wouldn't go as far as that. So I'm going to try and watch one battle after another again, because I need to see that again at some place. But that's difficult because Vicky's watching something called The Capture on BBC iPlayer, which I'm not really that much into, if I'm truth be told. So yeah, I'm more like some of the various films. There's a decent copy of Crime 101 running around the place, but you kind of like, I was a bit sold on it before, and then you said to me, you're like, nah, actually it falls apart in the final.
I do seem to be the exception though. Most people reviews are. I think Joe liked it. I'm sure. Maybe I read Joe's review of it, but quite a few people seem to like it. So I'd still see it. I would make your own mind up on it. It's only like I say, it's the ending to me I didn't love, but yeah, I'd definitely go see like I say, Project Hail Mary. In fact, just a film the world needs, really, like genuinely good, feel good.
Is it like The Martian,
talking in more detail. Yeah, and a more of like it's in the trailer, buddy cop kind of thing with the thing that he discovers. I won't go too much into spoiler territory, but no, it was great. I went to see it in like the one cinema that's in like the expat area, JP. So it was £2.50 for the ticket instead of £2. Daylight robbery. But it was actually full of Vietnamese people, and it was English language showing of it. That's why I went to that cinema, but with Vietnamese subtitles, pissing themselves laughing at like all of like the Ryan Gosling's comedy performance in it. Great. I think it's right up your street.
Okay.
I'll talk more tomorrow. Full review tomorrow, but let's see.
I love The Martian. I've had a lot of time for it. It's the same guy who wrote the book.
Yeah, I was just saying, same feel. Yeah, same book, same person who wrote the book. So yeah, there's definitely comparisons there, but more lighthearted, I'd say.
And it's been a big hit. It's like it's been like kind of like a big hit as well. And if it's like The Martian, which was such a good feel-good film. Like, it felt like something that you could, like, you came out of the cinema with a smile on your face. Like when I watched The Martians, I'm quite looking forward to go and see it. The eldest lad is back from university. He's back working at the cinema again, so it's my time to fucking shine. I tell you, for getting free tickets and stuff like that. So I might take you up on that. I could see that being brought up by him at some stage. Oh, let's go to a late night screening and go and watch watch Project Hail Mary. I could see myself doing that on like Tuesday or Wednesday. Like one of the like 9 o'clock screenings. Yeah, sounds like a good
Simon saying you see me letterbox 3.5 stars. I've said it a few times, I approach film reviewing a lot different.
You're
don't go high than 4 very often. I don't think I give 5 out very often either. It's very, in fact, when I first joined Letterboxd, I didn't have any 5-star films. I've gone back and rejigged a few, but I don't tend to go above 4, so 3.5. So as it should be in wrestling as well, but the exchange rate's broken. Blame Big Dave.
What did you give one battle after another? Out of curiosity on that.
Probably 4, I think. 4, I would.
Okay,
sure I gave it.
That's ultra high for you. You are like you.
If I gave it 4.5,
me,
I could see that too, but I think I gave it 4. Yeah, which was probably my film of the year last year. So there we go. Something we should all do.
Oh yeah. So yeah, good bit of cinema. Get a bit of films in. Forget about football for another fucking week. That's the way forward. What about yourself? What are you going to do in sunny Vietnam?
Yeah, same. Got to head up at the beach this week, so I'll be doing that this weekend, I think. And obviously, I'll take that recording with the lads. And also, actually, I should say, Davey Portman is actually in Vietnam at the minute, so he's going to be in Penang at some point next week. So hopefully, we'll be meeting up for a pint at some point while he's in my town. So that'll be fun. So yeah, got that coming up. There you go. Got a bit of a social life, JP.
Brilliant.
Very much looking forward to that. He's already in love with the salt coffee, which is a good start for Vietnam. So yeah, he seems to be having a great time in Ho Chi Minh right now. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him. Pretty much that's my plan, as well as recording tomorrow, obviously, with the very early 5-1 WrestleMania edition, plus takeouts that we'll be doing on the 5-1 tomorrow morning. So definitely check that out. And like I say, give us if there's anything we might miss on there on that old 5-1, let us know as well. But outside that, plenty more coming. Ask GRAPPL, which I think we'll have you on, JP, and obviously weekend show next Friday as well. I think we'll, or maybe Thursday, we'll talk behind the scenes. We'll figure out. It's bank holiday, isn't it? It's going to be a weird weekend next week. With obviously, I think Ask GRAPPL's going to be the Monday, and then we'll figure out which day we'll do weekend show, mate. But like I say, like riding the bike, been great to have you back, mate.
It's been great, and I've managed not to say anything too offensive in the time that I've been on, but it's been brilliant. It's been lovely being back. It's been lovely seeing all the comments in the chat as well, and it's like all the kind words. So massively appreciate it. It's been brilliant. Like I say, riding a bike, but riding a bike pissed. That's what it's felt like this one as well. So absolutely,
I made up bike based on some of the names in there as well, but. No, everyone, you can see it from the comments, can see the love on the Patreon in the Discord. Everyone's made up to have you back, JP. I appreciate everyone bearing with us, obviously, with like I say, getting the schedule sorted there going forward and figuring some things out. Maybe we'll talk more on Ask GRAPPL as well. But again, obviously, thank you to everyone for bearing with us as well. And obviously, Matty, Gareth, and everyone else for filling over the last while as well, JP. But yeah, good to have you back, mate. All feels right in the world.
It does. All does feel right in the world. And when you're sat in a fancy beach with you and Davey Portman drinking ultra cheap beers and stuff like that, think of us as living in the country that the sun never shines anymore. We're just giving up on that shit now for forevermore. But it's
no plans to come back anytime soon.
I wouldn't fucking blame you, mate. This place is a hellhole. It really is. There you are.
Well, if you're listening on the free feed, which we'll be putting this out on, obviously, more where that came from, patreon.com/GRAPPL or youtube.com/@GRAPPL. Below the price of 99p. Get yourself through the door. Even just listen to the pre-shows if you want to go back and see JP's big reveal from Sunday when he jumped on Sunday. That is free for everybody on the Patreon. Always is every week, the Matty Edwards pre-show. So don't even need to give us your credit card information, I don't think. Just sign up, subscribe, and it'll be there
give it anyway if you
for
really
you as well. There you go. Yeah, we'll take the money too. Yeah, we're not going to turn it down. But yeah, outside that, listen to Stone Cold Crazy if you haven't already. But yeah, go for it, folks. Have a great weekend. Yeah. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, live patrons, for tuning in live. Thank you to our YouTube members. And as always, thank you to our kings and queens of the mountain. Conor Laughlin, Eddie Sideburns, Chris Plass, Carl Gack, whose show is coming up, Sophia Hitchcock, Sam Mulvaney, and Marty Ellis. We'll catch you all again on the next one.
D-Day! Apparently that's Vietnamese Apparently, it's more
Is
often used in daily life. I don't know. You've never heard that.
Did they
expression
ham
in
on?
your
Isn't he
life.
an Ireland supporter now? I thought he was. Anyway, there you go. Come on.
Yeah, don't get that at all. Bye-bye.
Ciao is where I go without you. Ciao. Universal
Ciao.
language. Welcome back, JP.
Cheers, mate.